up, Greg?
Glad you showed up, Craig. This time, if we experience any more problems, you better start looking for a job, man.
This is your last chance, Craig.
There's a million Craigs out there.
Better not fuck it up.
You have found Renowned and Feared, everybody. I am Trusty Pax, and joining me as always is Archer King.
Who is renowned. We covered this last week. You're
He
Trusty,
brings-
I'm renowned.
Archer brings the renown, I bring the fear. And you have found the Total War Warhammer fantasy podcast. And today, you probably won't be hearing us, but because the Grim and the Grom, or is it the Warden and the Paunch? See, I've got multiple names stuck in my head.
It's both, but it's technically called the Warden and the Paunch.
Yeah, we're dating ourselves, but today the Warden and the Paunch came out, and we're going to be talking about Settra, as opposed to, because we haven't had time. Yeah, CA, give us some of that sweet, sweet early access. You don't
We just
have
want to show the people.
Well, we don't even show them. We just talk about it. So you can look at. We don't even run the risk of showing any unreleased content. We can just tell them about it. Do a little ASMR. Telling about how that sweet troll lady.
Petra.
That's Settra the Imperishable.
Is that bad, actually?
Yes, today we're talking about Settra the motherfucking Imperishable. I've heard Major Kill call him that, and I think it's a pretty good title. He's literally got a wiki page full of title: the King of Kings,
King of Nehekhara, Lord of the Earth, Monarch of the Sky, Mighty Lion of the Infinite Desert. He's like 10 different animals.
Well, he's everything. He is making Nehekhara great again. Settra 2020. You're worried about you want the borders open? That's okay. You want the borders closed? That's okay too. He's doing neither. He's expanding the borders.
Yeah, he's just killing everything.
Our skeletons underneath all look the same and bring us closer together.
Exactly.
And once you get Settra in, if he's never going to die, and if someone manages to assassinate him, there's a good chance he's going to be devoured by a horde of scarab beetles that burst from his burning body. And over the next 10 years, he will reassemble himself. So, in the grand scheme of things. What's that?
Don't try it. Don't try killing him.
Yeah, don't try killing him. You'll be eaten alive, and he'll probably stick your skeleton up somewhere after he revives it, and you'll enjoy an eternity as, I don't know, part of his throne or something. Maybe get maybe get a spot in his chariot wheel. He probably wouldn't put you on his throne. Maybe like a spoke on the wheels of his chariot. That sounds better.
I feel like that's a place of honor rather than somewhere you don't want to be.
Well, he's constantly riding on it. I don't know. I'm not a Bronze Age king / tyrant. I don't know what to tell you.
I'm not an undead, unliving, imperishable god. No. Don't ask me.
Yeah. So, Settra has last 2 weeks ago we covered Albric de Bordelot, and he had almost no story or history behind him. Honestly, most of them was kind of made up by Creative Assembly. Settra expanded upon is a better word. Settra, on the other hand, his story goes back about 4.5 millennia, maybe 5 millennium. He existed about 2,500 years before Sigmar. So this is definitely ancient times we're talking, because Sigmar was alive about 2,500 years before present day when you're playing the game.
So 5,000 in total.
Yeah, give or take, couple decades. Who's counting at this scale of things? I mean, I was a bit surprised to see how far back the Warhammer world goes, because, obviously, chaos goes way back, but time really has no meaning in their realms. And
Yeah, it's kind of something I think is somewhat unique to the Tomb Kings is that they have lore going back that far as well. Like a lot of the even old world factions are like last 2,500 years, whereas this is like literally twice as old.
yeah, I mean, it's kind of it's weird because Khemri or Nehekhara used to be the dominant civilization on the planet. It encompassed pretty much all of the southlands, minus parts of the southernmost jungles where the lizard men still existed there. They also had colonized parts in the New World, and they expanded as far north as the Black Mountains. That kind of separates the southlands from the lands of the Empire and beyond.
Mhm. And they also had a few campaigns into Lustria.
Yes, that's what I meant by the New World. But yes, specifically,
Fair, that's what that is.
yeah. Well, there's so many different names for the same things. Uh,
Mhm.
but yeah, they had expanded slightly into Lustria. So at the time, 5,000 years ago, this was the greatest kingdom of the land. It even outstrips the modern day empire, uh, at least presently. And it was not always as such. Uh, Taking it back to Settra the Imperishable, when he was born, his father was actually the king of Khemri, the city he was born in.
Mhm.
I think at one time it was the capital of a unified Nehekhara, but at the time of Settra's birth, they had fallen into kind of a state of civil war. There was a lot of greenskin incursions. The lizard men were kind of
Mhm.
reclaiming some of their lost treasures,
Mhm.
and
And
also, oh, go ahead.
at the best of times, it was like warring city states, even without outside influence. It was just a bunch of giant dickheads seeing who was cooler.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of distance, especially on the Mortal Empires map. You can correct me because I honestly just opened it up to check it. There's a lot of distance between Khemri, Numas, and several of the other cities. There's a lot
Yeah.
of difference distance between them in this
Mhm.
land, and that's kind of whereas before in Lustria when we fought there might have been a short distance. It just took a long time for your armies to march through the jungle. This time, you're just walking through desert, which is fine for the undead, but there's usually if something bad is occurring in part of your empire, and it can take quite a while for your army to march back there.
Mhm. Yeah. It happened to me more than once.
Oh yeah, I had a campaign that kind of just ended in a stalemate, and then I dropped the difficulty a little bit, but that'll I'll just put that out there. I had to drop it down from very hard to hard because I was just like, I got to finish this, you know, yesterday.
Yeah. And I think it kinda sucks that the Badlands update came out today and wasn't actually a part of our most recent campaign because it would have made it so much easier to take what was originally part of, Nehekhara,
Mm.
and it was it's so stretched out, and you don't get, like, the same bonuses, and there's a bunch of stuff in the way, so, yeah, getting around as soon as you go, like, north of Xandri is kinda rough.
Yeah, it's weird how we kept picking. We did Albert de Borderlo. Now his campaign has changed.
Yep.
Maybe not so much because I watched a time lapse of the new campaign, and the Order Tide is still running strong.
Good
Uh,
to know.
yeah, I mean, I still think though that you definitely, obviously, you benefit if you want to play the greenskins from all their new units and their
Yeah.
rebalances. So definitely more in favor of the player. But yeah, everything pretty much changed. In my campaign, the Vortex to the east, you just had I'll look up the tribe, but it's just one of those sub faction greenskin tribes. And
Yeah.
now the Grom starts over there, and his faction.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, to
Yeah,
the
like,
east.
Arachnos, I think, was there before?
Yeah, Arachnos.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now Grom starts over there. Uh, so that definitely changes up things even on the Vortex campaign. Although I didn't really, I never really expanded to Ulthuan. I just kind of went over to Lustria a little bit.
That's Settra, you mean?
Yeah, Settra. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's another campaign that's been updated, both in the Mortal Empires and on Vortex. Probably more so in the Mortal Empires because they've added quite a few territories and legendary lords.
Yeah, there's so much done that I think pretty much every campaign is going to be impacted to a pretty significant degree. But yeah, I don't think there was any avoiding it this week, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, honestly though, like with those updates, I am eventually curious to try High Queen Khalida on Mortal Empires because
Okay, yeah.
her starting position on the Vortex is like in Lustria on the
Mhm.
southwestern edge, and it makes no sense. I
No.
mean, I guess if the Nehekharans had colonized parts of the New World, maybe there's some lore relevancy to her position in the Vortex campaign, but uh, definitely in the Mortal Empire, she starts in the ballpark of the new high elf guy, Imric.
Yep.
She starts near Imric. She starts near Malice
Krokgar.
Darkblade. Yeah,
Yeah.
Krokgar, Snickich. It's definitely
Clan Wars.
Clan Wars. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, the Tomb Kings was always a faction I was curious about. I'm sure when we were all young, I had a small obsession with like ancient Egyptian cultures, and that's what this faction is really all about. Kind of playing into that fantasy of like a really mythological Egyptian type civilization where there's statues that come alive that are shaped like jackals and
Sphinxes and
sphinxes and
Titans.
yeah, hero titans.
Yep.
Yeah,
Dope.
that shoot lasers from their eyeballs.
Yeah, big fan.
Oh yeah, I was a big fan of that too.
Mhm.
Uh, so anyway, taking it back to the. Sorry about jumping around there. It's it's so hard because there's so many things running through my mind right now. But anyway,
Yeah.
so Settra, 5,000 years ago, roughly thereabouts. He was born into this time where all of this different city states of Nehekhara were warring with each other, and eventually his father. I don't know if he was always the king of Kemri, that specific city. I think he was at least king of Kemri.
Yep.
But he died, and Settra took over. And Settra, being the type of man that he was always fighting alongside his father's armies, learning the ways of battle, tactics, and statesmanship. And he took it to what his father taught him, and he took it to a whole nother level.
Mhm.
And he one of the things that kind of aided him in the early days, at least from what I've learned, is at this time their culture had kind of for obvious reasons fallen apart. People weren't really worshiping their old gods like they had been. They're probably more worried about survival with all the terrible things happening. Like I think the river of Vitae that runs
Mhm.
by, kind of like the Nile, that they
Yeah.
that they depend on, had not flooded in like decades at least,
Mhm.
and people are starving. Uh, there's disease prevalence. Like I said,
Greenskins are running all over. There's bandits.
yeah, Northmen from. It wasn't clear whether they meant Norskins or just men of the Empire because they were considered barbarians at that point.
Yeah, it could be either or.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're more likely people like pre-Sigmar Empire
Yeah,
barbarians. That's what it
that's what I
seems.
took it as. Yeah.
Yeah. So this this kind of this nation of peoples. Well, it wouldn't really be a nation, but definitely they had. Well, they were linked together by common ancestry.
Yeah.
Where they lived in their culture, and the priesthood, the priests of this time, who didn't really owe fealty, I guess, to any particular king, kind of recognized what was wrong with their civilization and were appealing to the different kings of the different city states, trying to convinced them that a more unifying view of the future was what was needed for them to really cause their civilization to rebound from the lows that they're sitting at.
Mhm.
And they found their man in Settra. He apparently was always very fond of their, their religion and following the ways of the old gods. And he took them seriously when they approached him. And within, I think, the first year of him being king of Kemri, he started rebuilding statues and temples and basically started investing in the even as
Worship.
yeah, even as focused on the military. Like you think he might have spent more of that money on the military, but it is a fictional universe. But I can see how it works out where he dedicated the money to culture and religion,
Mhm.
and people responded well to that. And
Mhm.
he was convinced that the reason why their city had been brought so low was because they had forgotten their old ways. And
He was right.
he
Or the
was
priests
right.
were right.
Well, the priests are right, and so was he by falling in line
Extension,
with
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've gotten two different versions of this story. So tell me which one you heard.
Okay.
The big first event that really kind of made a name for Settra uh, amongst like the people and wider Nehekhara was after about a year of him starting to invest in the cultural aspects of his city, he sacrificed his children to the gods in order to make the river Vitae flood again.
Mhm.
I heard one. See, I don't know if it's old Games Workshop that says he sacrificed them because they seem to be a bit edgier. Or because I also heard from one person that he just prayed really hard, and that caused the gods to respond by flooding the river.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
yeah, but I like to think he did sacrifice his children to, you know, to really prove a point. Because
Yeah.
if you have a king who's willing to do that to his own children, you should be very afraid of what he's capable of doing to everybody else.
I think it makes for a better story because just praying really hard after hundreds of years of just warring and ignoring the gods, I don't feel like they'd be super keen on forgiving that just because he said a few prayers.
No, I mean, I don't know if you. I saw this like meme once,
Mhm.
trying to talk about how to like how summoning the old ones works. And someone put it like, well, if you were walking by a circle of ants on the ground who are chanting out loud and were sacrificing other ants, don't you think you'd kind of stop by and do something random to like?
Yeah.
So I like to think that he did do the terrible thing of sacrificing his children because it definitely shows you what kind of character he is.
Yeah.
He is selfishness. I mean, there's a selfless aspect to that. Like, he sacrificed his children so that way the children of all his people can go with, food and water.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's a complicated, yeah, that's definitely something. That's like a deal with the devil in a way. But either
Yeah.
way, yeah, but either way, the gods did respond very well to that. And
Mhm.
apparently the next day, the river that went through his lands flooded for the first time in basically his lifetime. And
Yeah. And it
kind of
resulted in the crops actually growing and the harvest being, like, worth it, essentially.
yeah, and I think this pays off militarily because now, in times of abundance,
Mhm.
people can actually, like, it's like in modern days, people don't have as many kids because they can't afford it. Like,
Yeah.
if people who want kids can, feasibly afford 3 kids, they're probably going to have 3 or 4 kids.
Yeah.
And that provided kind of this economical boom. And definitely, I'm sure life definitely looked a lot more positive after, you have a king who's willing to sacrifice his own children, not somebody else's,
Mhm.
for your benefit. So
Yeah.
definitely breeds loyalty, a mix of fear and love, I would say.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's both, something to be somewhat wary of, but also admirable. It's yeah, it's like the deal with the devil thing. It's a back and forth. It's part good and part kinda horrible.
That's why I'm saying Cetra 2020. He's not. You're worried about sending your kids off to war. He'll sacrifice his own before you even get a chance to.
Yeah, he's a tyrant, but he's a good tyrant.
Well, he's a tyrant. So this kind of kicked off his campaign of reunifying Nehekhara. After this point, it was pretty much agreed upon by the priesthood that this was their man. He was chosen by the gods, and it certainly looked like it.
Yeah.
And so he went around either, demanding that other kings, pay him tribute and bow down, or he'd just kill them without mercy. But that was what it kind of took. It took a brutal hand to unify these very independent city states underneath. It takes a lot of orcs are from my campaign. I could see why the savage orcs are a problem. They're tough to put down, even with
little rampant.
Yeah. And if you don't have undead soldiers, I mean, just by judging real quick of how trash your starting units are with the skeleton spearmen and swordsmen, if they actually broke and ran as opposed to fighting till disintegration, savage orcs would definitely tear you up even more than they already do.
How do you put armor on a skeleton?
Well, it kind of just hangs off them.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, if they lose an arm, at least they can still keep swinging. So there's definitely I don't understand why they're so vulnerable to arrows, though. I mean, if you're a skeleton, like, most of those things are just gonna go right through you.
Yeah, I kind of took it as like it's just knocking shit away, if that makes sense. Like they don't have the mass to stop it, so it just kind of like knocks a bone off here and there. I don't know. That was my justification for it.
No, that is probably true. I was reading how, like, after battles, like, there'll be some skeletons who go around collecting up the bones to help reassemble the others later.
That's fucking hilarious.
It's a job, I guess.
It's a job. I wonder if there's just like amalgamations of like 5 people ending up on one skeleton. They're just like, yep, soldier.
Yeah. Well, they don't have much of a personality. At least those ones, I don't think. So I think the next big point to cover is that he unified Nehekhara in a very over the course of I think, I can't remember, it took him 10 years. It took him some years to unify the entire Nehekhara civilization. And in the process of doing so, he became obsessed with expanding their civilization to Lustria, pretty much to the corners of the globe. He wanted to conquer everything.
Yeah, essentially.
And he tasked this is how he created the Mortuary Cult. The Mortuary Cult is very important to the history of this civilization. It eventually, being a lich priest, which is what you become in the cult, was so valued that a firstborn son of like a king would actually become a lich priest or a priest. No, not a lich priest at first.
Yeah.
But that's how Arcan the Black, one of the reasons why he was so upset.
Right.
He was the firstborn, so he became a priest, as opposed to actually being like the king of his family's, city.
Yeah. And I think it's worth mentioning that Settra founded the Mortuary Cult after basically finding out that his conquest, it wasn't in vain, but that he was never going to achieve his goal. He realized that there was way more lands and way more peoples to conquer, that even if he lived another 10 lifetimes, he wouldn't be able to bring it all under his control.
Yeah, I'd like to pause a moment there, because that's really a moment that I like to imagine. I at least the sources, I think it was Lore Master Sotek, shout out to him. He said when Settra was 40 years old was when he stood on the Black Mountains, the border basically between the southlands and what would become the empire. And 40 years old, probably 5,000 years ago, you probably, it's kind of like modern history theorizes, like you were extremely lucky if you made it to like your 60s. Like that was pretty amazing if you made it that far. And
Especially as a warring king who liked to fight on the front lines.
yeah, he had been living a full life, always on
Mhm.
the edge, and obviously, like, he sacrificed his own children. He never gave himself a break. He always led by example, at the very least. And
Mhm.
at the age of 40, I mean, I'm in my 30s right now, and I can, my some things are not working as well as they used to already. Granted, some of that's from my problems with being in the military and whatnot, and just life in general. Like he was standing on the mountains, looking at this expanse of land that he had never even before imagined could have existed, and he had his midlife crisis and stood on the mountaintop screaming at, probably in conflict about the futility of all he had been trying to achieve,
Yeah.
because like you said, he really thought he was going to conquer the world. And then when he stood up on these mountains and looked at like this whole expanse of what the world still encompassed, he knew it was not possible to achieve
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
Even if he never lost a battle, even if everything continued as he was going, it, like you said, it would take more than 10 lifetimes to see his dream to fruition. And at the time, it was pretty crushing for somebody who is not used to being defeated, and he was not going to take a little thing like mortality lying down.
I mean,
And
he's pretty much had everything he ever wanted, and then there's just one thing he can't have. The universe just kind of said no.
yeah, sorry, buddy, nobody gets to live forever,
Yeah.
or so we thought.
Mhm.
Like you said, that's right. That was the moment he created or shortly thereafter, he created the Mortuary Cult. He called in all of his priests, and he basically said, I'm writing you guys a blank check. Whatever you guys need, whatever it is, you just need to make me immortal. And that created the Mortuary Cult. And I believe our good old buddy Katep was in that as well. I'm
Poor
pretty
old
sure
fat
he's
cat.
yeah, I think he's the oldest one, I believe.
He is, yes. He's gonna come up later.
Yes. Uh, Katep's a real bro, and he doesn't really get recognized enough for that.
Yeah, I felt bad, like, playing campaigns where he's just, like, always asking for, like, trade agreements and non-aggression pacts and just trying to be my friend, and then reading the lore, like, he's so sad, I feel so bad for him.
Well, it's kind of bizarre. You got Settra, who is just he's this unstoppable force, and Katep's really just trying to make things right. We'll get
Mhm,
into really what goes wrong, but I mean, how would you feel like you come across like this undead, like legion, let's say, and then the leader of it just comes up and talking to you, more reasonable than like almost anybody, like just this like good old stranger who's
mhm,
just, yeah, hey, how's it going? We're
yeah,
just looking for a way through here, or
yeah.
you got anything you want to sell?
Don't mind me, I'm just, like, 10,000 years old, it's okay.
Yeah, yeah, I'm used to it.
I get that a lot, yeah.
I get that a lot. Uh, so the Mortuary Cult is ultimately unsuccessful, but not, but they did make progress,
Mhm,
even back in this time period. I believe at this point, they started making contact with the realm of souls,
mhm,
which will come up later. Which basically they were starting to make contact with some of their gods and the spirits of their dead, and they were able to extend Settra's lifespan. I think by about 100 years. I think he lived to, or was it 100?
yeah, he was, like, almost 140, I think, by the time he actually, died.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess not like 200 years old, but still 140. That's a long ass time.
Yeah, especially for the time, like, they definitely extended and, um, enhanced his life for, like, what it would have been, but it yeah, ultimately isn't more immortality.
Yeah, I mean, still, like you get to grow up with your great grandchildren, basically, or
Pretty
maybe your
much,
great great
yeah.
grandchildren. I
Mhm.
don't know if he ever had any after that. You know.
Yeah, it's never brought up, I was kinda wondering the same thing, like, I think most examples in history where people end up being like, "Oh, I didn't get to conquer everything," they just have kids and like leave that to them, like leave that inspiration and goal with their children. But Setra's like, "Nah, fuck that! Like, I want to do it."
Yeah, you can almost imagine that he was. I mean, it's bizarre to think of this way, but he's almost like asexual in a way. Like conquering and being the king is really his only concern. And
Mhm.
like it sounds like he only had children just because that's what a king does. And
Yeah.
then he just immediately sacrificed them for basically for the progress of what his mission was.
Mhm.
So it seems like family is not really a concern of his. It's just to be a king.
Mhm. Of everything, basically.
Yeah, of everything. So if you don't plan on dying, why do you need to have children? I
Yeah.
mean, you know,
What's the point?
yeah, you're gonna be around.
Mhm.
Uh, as we know, we all have children as to replace our hopes and dreams in, or whatever. I don't know, whatever that bullshit is. I don't know if you've ever had a parent try to live their dreams through you. It's a very frustrating and negative experience. It's like, I don't like football, Dad. Never have, never will.
Yeah. "Dad, I
Sorry,
don't wanna conquer the world, leave me alone."
Dad. I don't want to conquer the world. I don't care that unified this entire
Yeah.
civilization. I don't. I just.
"Big whoop, you're not that cool.
I just. Yeah, you're not that cool.
Get out of
Uh,
my room, I'm playing Minecraft."
get out. Get out of my room, Settra. Uh, so I really don't know where to keep going with that. I should have
I
came
think,
up with more jokes on that line.
yeah, Setra's death, I guess.
Yeah, so Settra does die at about 140, thereabouts, long time, and
Mhm.
he kind of goes to his grave, being promised by the Mortuary Cult that uh, yes or no, we haven't figured out a cure to death, but we have figured out how to prevent your body from decaying.
Mhm.
They, invented mummification as they know it,
Yeah.
and they promised him that you will die, but now with our progress into the accessing the realm of souls, we will bring you back one day, and in the meantime, we're gonna continue building where you left off. And when we reawake you, once we find the way to do that, you'll enter this golden paradise, and
Mhm.
you'll get to basically continue doing what you were doing, which is
Yeah.
being king and conqueror of all.
Mhm. You can pick up where you left off. It's all good.
Spoiler alert, that doesn't happen.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
I
Uh,
I I just wanna bring up that Settra didn't exactly go quietly. It's said
Tell me about.
it's just said he died kinda angry, which is just hilarious for me to envision just, like, this super old guy, like, on his last breath just being like, "Fuck you." Like,
You son of a
he's just
bitch.
yeah.
You said I was gonna live forever.
Yeah, like, his last words are just like, "Fucked a lot of you," or something, like,
The first thing
stupid.
I do when I get back
Yeah,
is
"You're all dead. I swear to God."
I'm gonna fuck you up. Uh,
But, he also brought, a new sort of part of the Tomb King, as they're called now, culture in that he had this grand pyramid built for himself as his sarcophagus, which is, yeah, obviously mirroring, ancient Egyptian culture.
yeah, I think it was a giant white. It was so bright and shining that it would blind people just by looking at it.
Mhm. Can you
Uh,
imagine just, like, this giant eyesore that you can't like, imagine the sun is just, like, in the middle of the city you live in.
well, that's how you get people to remember him because I I'm God, I wish I knew the answer right off the top of my head, but the civilization does last for quite a while longer after
Mhm.
Settra's death. It
Yeah,
it does not all collapse. It really it just continues for I think at least another 1,000 years. It
yeah.
seems like because
Which
there are
is
many. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, like, I think that's why it's gonna be a little bit of a longer episode, like, the history of Settra is also kind of the history of the Tomb Kings as a whole. Like, with you can't really tell the whole story without encompassing a large part of what went on.
It's
So I think it's just it's so expansive, and it's not even about him, but you have to tell that part.
yeah, but, well, you kind of have to as well for another reason, which is Nagash and
Hmm.
how his plans and how he basically keeps coming back, and he has a lot to do with the end times.
Yeah,
You know, I don't want to get too much into that, but yeah, the history
because
of
game
Settra.
3.
I mean, it's like the beginning of recorded history, like
Yeah,
how even today, like it's a big deal in archaeology when you find like evidence of a civilization pushing, you know, like we have a time when human beings existed, or like the first time that we farmed, and then they dig up something that shows that human beings were doing that maybe like 1,000 years before that, and that's
yeah.
a big deal.
Hmm.
Uh, So Settra passes away and things go on. But the mortuary cult grows in power
Hmm.
and really takes their powers to a whole nother level. They continue researching, the path of immortality, and in doing so, basically figure out how to extend most of their lifespans as well. Uh,
And it basically indefinitely, yeah.
Indefinitely, not in a good way though. Like you still decay, and
Hmm.
you basically, I feel like it's like you drink embalming juice to basically keep your body together. Almost, it seems like, because our buddy Katep has technically never died, where
Hmm.
Settra has passed away at one point.
Yeah,
Katep is still technically alive.
yeah.
Uh, he is just aged for thousands of years. So
Hmm.
I guess he looks good for being 5,000 years old. I'm not sure how I would look then. Probably
Hmm.
just dust. But they also really tap into the winds of magic because for a long time they didn't really have an understanding of it or access to it.
Yeah.
Uh, and also the necrotex. I want to bring up them because
Hmm.
I feel like I never really. One of the things that kept me away from playing this faction was you got lich priests. I understood that they were the magic casters of
Yeah.
heroes of your army. You get the tomb princes, which are your bodyguards, as I like to call them, melee focused, and
Hmm.
then you had the necrotex,
Yeah.
and these guys were basically slave drivers, highly specialized engineers that helped construct all these wonders and statues. Basically, aside from being a priest, was like probably up there as far as careers go, and like uh,
Hmm.
renown, I would say.
Yeah.
Like if you're a necrotect, you're definitely up in the higher echelons of society in Nehekhara.
Yeah.
And they work together with the lich priests to basically infuse souls that they would bring back from the realm of souls into uh, basically these statues that they were building.
Yeah.
The scorpions, the Ushapti, the necrosphinxes, all these things they would with the proper runes and incantations, they could put human souls into these huge contraptions.
Hmm.
Uh, so I think we should bring up Arcan the Black because I feel like he was a big part of why things went down the way they did. That brings us kind of to modern day, where we are currently in Warhammer.
You don't want to go over Nagash and his like original.
Oh well, oh yeah, I was gonna tie Arcan. Yeah, I'm a bit hazy on Nagash. Nagash was a lich priest. I'm pretty sure I got that right. Uh, wasn't he? Or a
Yeah.
mortuary priest?
Well, he was um the second son essentially, and he wasn't happy being the second son. So when his father died, he killed his brother and essentially assumed control of. Um, I don't think it was Henry, but his father's state essentially, because the whole of Nehekhara had essentially devolved into what it was before Settra, like a bunch of warring city states, and he was extremely magically talented. He um, was basically unrivaled and also similar to Settra in terms of martial prowess.
Was
So he
was
kind
this
of,
when was this when he constructed the Black Pyramid as well?
yeah, exactly. He did the same thing and drained. Actually, it was Khemri's. I'm gonna do it with the the roll, by the way.
But yeah, go for it, man. I'm not bold enough.
the and, yeah, he basically drained the resources of Khemri to build this Black Pyramid, which was basically a monument to his pride.
Well, it was
And
also to focus the Winds of Magic or
yeah,
something.
exactly. So it's a little bit different than Settra in that he was a tyrant but bad. It was,
Y-
yeah.
But they're operate well. Nagash is definitely totally evil.
Hmm.
Settra is more of a.
Anti-hero. Mhm.
I'm trying to think in terms of what do you call it? Dungeons and Dragons. Their morality system, like neutral order, maybe. That alignment.
Mhm.
I don't know if I'd go.
Chaotic neutral, maybe.
No, not chaotic, because
No, because it wouldn't be chaotic. I don't know.
yeah, that's why I'm thinking more like neutral order.
Yeah.
Sometimes he does things that benefits people, and then other times he is selfish. Selfish. It's really totally practicality almost.
Mhm. Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So tell me
Anyway,
a little bit about Nagash, because that's the spot I'm most hazy on.
yeah,
Uh,
I don't want to get too into it, but essentially he does the same thing as Settra and tries to bring all of Nehekhara under his control. Um, but
and
the sorry, go ahead.
oh, the Arca and the Black was like his second or he was one of his apprentices, I think.
Yeah, yeah, it's like his right hand man essentially. Um, so eventually he was like so into the mortuary cult that he was experimenting in like necromancy, which is basically where it all came from. And he eventually um,
Oh
was
yeah, he
pushed
started.
back.
Didn't he create the vampires? Was that him?
Yeah, like in a roundabout way, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
most of what he ended up doing was not what he intended.
Yeah, that's very true. The classic bad guy, mistake. The,
Yeah,
his
he,
plans
he
blow
tr-
up in his face.
yeah, he tried one thing and then he's like, "Oh shit, I just raised everyone." But eventually, like when he was cornered in his fortress of Nagashazar and about to be killed, he was in the middle of this giant ritual to bring um, basically all of the undead of Nehekhara under his control. It was like to revive and then essentially bind them to himself. But he died halfway through the ritual, which ended up awakening all these tomb kings who had giant pyramids built to themselves along with their undead armies. And seeing as Nagash was dead, they weren't bound to him; they were just alive, and it results in a bunch of kings who think they rule in a certain area or think they have dominion over their area that they had in life, and there's hundreds of others vying for the same thing with an army behind them.
I just want to be briefly interject.
Mhm.
One thing that also I want to throw in there is that when his spell discharged, it killed also every living thing in the
Yeah,
Nehekhara.
yeah,
Uh, it
good
killed
point.
anything that was left alive, and then, like you said, it it still brought the undead, back into the world. But you know, it's like you said, it's just funny to think all these kings being like, "I'm in, not anymore. You're not.
I
I'm in
just
charge."
I just imagine like the Spider-Man meme where they're all like pointing at each other.
Oh man, I gotta make that now. We're we're putting that on. I gotta put that on Reddit,
Okay.
and advertise us. Yeah,
So good.
the Spider-Man meme. Oh my god. You nailed it, man. So
And
yeah, it's kind of a funny, like, from like I'm really into history, and like
mm,
the concept of like these different kings, like one king waking up like maybe like down like a pyramid away from like the previous king who was in charge before him,
the
and then just
pyramid away.
yeah, and just immediately beating the shit out of each other, only to be
Yeah,
followed by like I've been here before all of you.
yeah.
Like it's there's some comedy in there, I think.
It's hilarious. Like, it's honestly so funny to think about, like, these guys just waking up and being like, "Oh shit! Like, the fuck happened here?" And then there's like another guy like walking down the street with an army behind him. He's like, "Hey, fuck you! No, fuck you!"
No, no, fuck you, buddy.
Yeah. Um,
So that basically a civil war, kind of like it all started. Like, it comes full circle.
yeah.
Settra ended the civil wars, and then even after Nehekhara is destroyed, they come back. Except
Mhm.
now it's almost like bizarre because they all were technically a part of the same kingdom, just different generations.
Yeah.
You know, like very but Settra was protected by this.
Yeah.
He had
Yeah.
the most he had the best I think his temple was definitely tended to, or his pyramid was tended to long after it passed,
Yeah.
for obvious reasons. And because of that and many other factors, the protective wards on his pyramid were strong enough that nothing was affected. His armies were not awoken, and neither was Settra, at least at
Mhm.
first.
Yeah. And
Uh,
yeah.
so the two kings were fighting it out for a while.
Mhm.
I, I think it went on for a while. Again, this is probably one of those disputed things, but I think uh, it might have gone on for something like 10 years before Katep finally had enough and woke
Mhm.
up Settra.
Yeah.
It was definitely some time. Nobody nobody noticed in this time just a bunch of undead armies in the middle of a desert. Like, it's weird to think of these battles being fought where nobody's screaming or crying out, just these silent armies just disassembling each other and then putting
Yeah.
themselves back together.
Yeah. That's kind of weird to think about.
I mean, it's a bizarre type of hell, or I don't know, that place in between purgatory, strange purgatory.
Yeah.
uh
I just can't imagine being like a greenskin or something like that was like formerly like raiding around there, and they just like come upon a bunch of skeletons like punching each other in the face in the middle of a sand dune.
Well, the problem is you'd have one of those moments like in the movie where they watch while they beat each other up, and then all of a sudden they all slowly turn and face the greenskins, because
Yeah.
that'll be the thing that brings them all together. Uh,
So funny.
so, is there anything else I'm missing before? Well, Nagash was defeated. He was
Yeah.
killed, but he still exists somewhere.
Mhm.
Arcane the Black ran off to go hide, live to fight another day. And so this new Battle of the Tomb Kings went on for a little while, let's just say. And then eventually, Katep, good old boy, decided to awaken Settra. And Settra was pissed. He woke up and he couldn't understand why his body was like an ancient desiccated raisin.
Yeah.
Uh, waking up without testicles and skin,
Mhm.
even the basics were gone. Uh, so pretty upset,
Yeah.
having been promised a golden paradise, but that's life for you. And Katep had to explain to him what had happened, or he tried to explain. And immediately Settra went out, woke up his tomb guard, and he had a trusty a herald. I forget his name.
Yeah. Um, oh yeah, it's very similar to. I thought it was the same person as Katep, but it's wow. This is gonna bug me.
Well, if you find it, is it Valgar? No, that's a different thing.
It's like Kygar or
Anyway,
something. Yeah. Anyway.
yeah. So he had the best of the best. So he wakes up his armies and he immediately sets to being like, yeah. So I was the first of y'all motherfuckers. I'm the OG.
Mhm.
Fall in line, or I'm gonna smash your bones to powder, and then you don't even get to have your skeleton to
Yeah.
inhabit anymore.
Mhm.
Uh, so he has to reunify Nehekhara for the second time. And I bet at this point it's kind of like when you're doing something that you used to enjoy, but now as a job, like
Mhm.
trying to finish the Bretonian campaign.
I mean, in my head, I just see him like waking up and being like, "Ah, shit, here we go again."
Ah, shit. Yes. That's exactly what happened. But there wasn't that. He wasn't as happy sounding in that. There was,
Yeah.
he was just pissed. He had done it once. Now the fun was gone. You know, there was none of that. That I don't know, that new conquering smell that you get. Uh, so now he is fighting like the everybody who had come after him and saw how pathetic they were compared to him.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure only made him more pissed off. But luckily, some of them knew that he was the Imperishable, and also probably just recognized how badass he was, and
Yeah.
chose to fall in line. And eventually, he subdued the Tomb Kings, and some of them went to sleep or back to resting until Settra needed them, because occasionally he would wake them up to lead armies,
Yeah.
and whatnot. But once he kind of got things in order in the new undead Nehekhara, which had fallen, had been thousands of years. I think it was like another 2,000 years at this point,
Mhm.
maybe. And everything had fallen apart. The cities were decayed. I mean, obviously, everybody living had been killed.
Mhm.
It was just, this desert wasteland, and, lost to time. And
Yeah.
he said about waking up his necrotex and uh, rebuilding this lost civilization that he had worked so hard in life to build.
Mhm.
That takes us to, I mean, where would you say that puts us? I don't want to jump too far ahead.
I'd say that pretty much goes like right up to where the game starts, because there is a few more. I mean, there's a few more campaigns and wars and invasions that he goes through, but the gist of it is that he holds Nehekhara.
Yeah, yeah, and mainly the city of Kemri as its capital.
Yeah.
Uh,
And the other thing I think we should mention is that Nagash does come back in at some point, because in Kotep's original explanation, uh, by the way, Settra was so pissed at Kotep that he banished him from any of the ancient cities. So that's why we were kind of alluding to Kotep being like the saddest character.
Thanks for not letting that slip by. I always do that where I start something and don't finish it. But yeah, he banished Katep, exiled him.
Which is
Basically, tell him GTFO until you give me what was promised.
Yeah. I just can't imagine being like Kotep. He's just like, my lord, like, welcome back from the dead. I know it's not what you wanted and things are kind of shitty, but I'm here for you. And he's just like, fuck off.
If you don't get out of here in 3 seconds.
Yeah. Poor Kotep's just like a whipped dog at this point. He spent like thousands of years like for Settra essentially.
And he was loyal.
Yeah.
Which is the sad thing. It's like, yeah, but that's the nature of Settra. I mean, that is his weakness.
Yeah.
He even fucks himself over in the end times. At least the
Mhm.
explanation I heard, because he just doesn't take failure. Like, come on, everybody gets one. That's what I say. You screwed
Yeah.
up once. Yeah, as long as you promise you learned, then no big deal.
Yeah.
Uh,
Anyway, Nagash comes back at some point and is defeated by Settra. Because Kotep did explain that basically this is Nagash's fault. Like, he sort of just like pointed the finger and was like, "Yeah, this guy fucked up," which is true. It's not like a false accusation or anything.
No, but he was a priest, and so was Katep, and I
Mhm.
think that's where some of Setra's anger came from, because he was like, when I died, you were still alive,
Yeah,
and you still haven't sorted this shit out, and not only that, you basically created this monster. That's like, he learned from you, even if he wasn't a direct teacher.
yeah,
Kind of like a Darth Vader type situation.
yeah.
Yeah,
And now it's inconveniencing Settra, which is
yeah. You
I,
never
I,
inconvenience Setra. God
yeah,
help.
exactly.
Yeah.
Settra the inconvenience of bull.
Petra, help me. So like you said, there was a he fight. See, this is one of those things. I have no
Yeah.
idea how many times Nagash is defeated. He's just always blasting off again, and you know comes back. Arcane the Black slinks out of hiding, raises
Yeah.
an army, gets defeated, and then just always coming back type of deal.
Mhm.
But Nagash is a big deal because if he comes back to full power, he is considered definitely the most powerful, I'd say, magic user in all of Warhammer, to my
Mhm.
knowledge.
Yeah.
Uh,
He's like every bad guy in like medieval fantasy that is like, oh, his coming has been foretold, but he keeps doing it. It's like if Sauron came back every like couple hundred years.
hmm, yeah. Oh, well, gonna make a sequel. Uh,
Yeah, exactly.
uh, I know the game includes one of the campaigns, one of the famous campaigns where he gets his crown back. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
save that for a little later.
Yeah.
Uh, but is there anything else you can think? Because there's so much, and I mean, we literally could spend the entire 3 hours just going
Yeah.
on the prehistory of
Mhm.
what happens even before you start playing in
Yeah.
his campaign.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a well-covered subject, so if you are interested in anything more, there's lots of great videos that'll spend lots of time going,
Uh,
deep into the history.
yeah, I'll do the right thing and definitely tie in Lore Master Sotek. I'll put him in the description, and Inept General was one.
Mhm.
If there's any other ones I used, I'll put them in there.
Sure.
Just credit what credit's due. Thank you guys.
Mhm.
We're new to the Warhammer universe. I didn't play the tabletop or anything.
Yeah.
Uh, so does this bring us to the modern day, the campaign at
Pretty
least?
pretty much, yeah, I think so.
Yes, campaign section. There we go. That makes it easy to edit. uh, all right. So Settra the Imperishable is part of the Tomb Kings, and the Tomb Kings is a faction we have not touched on yet. And this is actually the first time I've really, dedicated more than a couple turns to playing.
Yeah, me too.
Like we said, they're an ancient Egyptian fantasy type faction. They've got another crazy. This one is definitely a little bit more out there as far as how the faction works. The economy is different. How you manage your armies is different. The research is different. Uh, Everything about this faction, there's going to be a learning curve. Like
Yeah.
you could have played all these other factions up till now, but even playing the Tomb Kings when I first started playing was a quite a bit of a learning curve. The units, how they work in battle.
Mhm.
Uh, there's so much flavor to the roster, and uh, there's definitely a level of complexity that's, or maybe it's not complexity. It's just you have to manage things radically different
Yeah.
as the Tomb Kings.
Mhm.
Uh, so,
What
oh, were you gonna say something?
No, I'm all good.
Okay. Uh, so under the we'll cover them kind of as we go. We'll start with basic information like race attributes.
Mhm.
Just right off the top. Uh, so you've got the system called the Mortuary Cult, where you have this menu in game where you collect organs in canopic jars, and you combine them with trading resources to create items. You can unlock special units, equipment. It's kind of like the crafting system that the dwarves have.
Yeah.
It's exactly like that.
Yeah, it's very
Uh,
similar.
Basically, how you get canopic jars, you get 30 every time you conquer a new city. I don't think sacking gives you any. I think that just gives you cash.
Yeah.
Uh,
Raising
uh,
gives you 30 as well.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you know, raising and occupying both give you 30.
Mhm.
Let's see. You can get them when you defeat armies. You can either collect, gold, which gold is in short supply. We'll get into how the economy works. So,
Mhm.
you, as somebody who usually doesn't sell off, captives, or I forget the exact phrase they use in this.
Yeah.
I was doing it all the time.
Mhm.
So the three options you have are basically to sell the captives, which not only gives you gold, but it also gives you a movement bonus of I think it's like 20%. It's
Yeah, it's
something
pretty high.
Yeah, for like 2 turns, you get a huge
Mhm.
boost to your campaign movement speed. You
Mhm.
can harvest their organs. Who doesn't love that option?
Yeah.
And that's where you get canopic jars. You
Yeah.
get the same amount every time. So whereas if you fight better armies, you get more gold. But if you fight a little army that's worth like nothing as far as gold goes, you still get the same amount of organs. Not sure how that math works out.
I,
Uh,
I I know it's a game balancing thing, but like part of me wishes fighting like Clan Eshin as much as I did that I got just a shit ton for killing as many Skaven slaves as I did.
Organs. So many organs. Maybe their organs are just trash, comparatively. Like they're
Yeah.
all Skaven slaves, like they're just so malnourished, is basically useless.
Yeah.
Uh, and then you can also, choose regeneration or
Bind their
replenishment.
souls is what it refers to as.
Bind their souls for
Yeah.
replenishment.
Mhm.
Uh,
Well, while we're kind of on this topic, I just want to say like this is actually the most balanced the post battle options are. Like
Very
with most,
balanced.
yeah, with most factions, I just spam one thing. Like Lizardman, I'm just gonna take the replenishment because what else? Like why else would I do anything else? Whereas with this one, most of the time I'm like pretty carefully considering it. I'm like, oh, I need this, I need that. Like I really need to replenish a little bit. It depended on the outcome of the battle because sometimes you could get more money or get more replenishment. I just wanted to bring it up that it's like really well balanced and actually worth thinking about with these guys as opposed to just doing one option usually with other factions.
Yeah, it's definitely it's worth pausing on because your finances in none of your buildings really bring in much money. You have
Yeah,
like one financial building starts off making 50 a turn and then it goes up to 150, I think.
yeah,
You will not have much gold coming in per turn. On
hmm,
the other side of it, you don't have to pay your soldiers. So that's the upside.
yeah,
But it makes building new buildings in the beginning like, what good is it that you finally got enough growth to upgrade your, main settlement when you can't afford it?
yeah.
Uh, Mostly your money is going to come through fighting. Uh, and
Essentially, yeah,
yeah, and you spend most of it on, the Mortuary Cult. If you want to, some units are worth unlocking. Sometimes, my final campaign, I had like I must have not spec somebody correctly because I was not getting any drops as far as items were concerned outside of like the quest items that you always get.
yeah. I
Uh,
did. Now that you mention it, I didn't get a huge amount either.
Usually I'm rolling in them, but I got like nothing. So maybe that was a balancing thing that happens when you play as them.
Yeah, it
Uh,
might be.
yeah, because
I
it
think
makes
so because I think it's the same with dwarves. You don't get as many because you can craft them.
yeah. So
Yeah,
like hence the extreme balancing for the end of battle options.
yeah,
You need the gold, but you also it helps to put some decent armor on your necrotect or a tomb prince if you want to have them in the fight. And
hmm,
Settra does not have I don't think he has a legendary piece of armor that you can get. Like there's no quest armor, I should say.
no.
He's got like a what is it? Like he's got a weapon and he's got a talisman, I think.
He's
Counts.
got the crown of Nehekhara.
Yeah, I forgot which category that fell under.
I think it.
Can't remember
Uh,
if it's a talisman or enchanted item. Either way, he only has his quest weapon and his crown. Uh,
it's an enchanted item. Yeah, sorry.
y- oh, okay, enchanted item. Yeah.
Yeah,
So those are the only two that you're guaranteed to get once you do the battles. But like I said, outside of that, you will not get much equipment
hmm,
appearing. Uh, the next is dynasties. So this has to do with the research tech tree. Uh, so this is going to be difficult to explain because even hearing other people explain it, like, so yes, you don't have to pay. There's no supply lines, no paying for any of your troops, but they're all, man, they're all building dependent.
yeah,
You will always be able to make skeleton spearmen and swordsmen, the cheapest of the cheap.
hmm,
You can pump out a 20 stack of those, no problem, whatever city you're in, as long as you occupy it. But
yeah,
if you want to make archers, you got to build a certain building. and that
Mhm.
building comes with limitations. You're only allowed 4. So if
Mhm.
you only have one city that has like a fully kitted out barracks, you will, as many spearmen and swordsmen as you want. You'll be able to recruit at a max 4 archers and 2. I think they're the dual swordsmen. Then I forget what they're
The
called.
Nehekhara warriors.
Nehekhara warriors.
Yeah.
They're almost useless. Uh,
I
but
would argue that they're pretty decent.
well, I feel like I didn't. Maybe they are. It was a hit and a miss for me because I definitely saw, they're leagues above the swordsmen that you start
Yeah.
off with. I'll give
Yeah.
you that. Way better. They're just hitting people with like those pool foam tubes that you can get basically.
Yeah.
And then you can get at the max level, a certain number of tomb guard. Like
Mhm.
I forget. Settra has a bonus towards them for
Yeah.
sure. Uh,
It's like 2 for the, tomb guard and then 1 for the tomb guard with halberds for the final building.
yeah. So just imagine you've got a fully kitted out, barracks, and that's the max that you'll be able to bring in. 4 archers, 2 Nehekhara warriors, 1 tomb guard halberd, and 2 tomb guard sword and shield.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay for them. But if you want more, you got to build another fully upgraded barracks in another one of your cities.
Mhm.
So this goes for every building that has to do with chariots, catapults, Ushapti, everything.
All
If
the
you
way,
want,
yeah.
yeah, in order to balance it out, if you want more of those, you need more gold to build more buildings that have those.
And
So
more territory to have those, cities and buildings in.
absolutely. So it definitely encourages you to. You have to expand if you want to get more powerful. Otherwise, you'll
Mhm.
have crap stacks
Yeah.
everywhere that are worth
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
Uh,
And essentially, like, it ends up being, like, one whole province can get you, like, one good army
yeah, that's a good way of describing it.
before, like, bonuses and stuff like that.
Yeah, I couldn't have put it better myself. The dynasties, though, the tech tree is confusing as hell when you look at it. At least it was for me. I don't know about you.
I opened it and I was like, "The fuck is this?" It's not
That
Skaven bad, but I was like, uh
I don't even think the Skaven tech tree is that bad. I feel like I got a good grasp on it. The first time I opened this one up, I was like, I think I'm gonna try another faction.
You're like, "You know what? Tomb Kings aren't my thing, actually."
Well, they have like these like such elaborate descriptions of the different dynasties. That you
Mhm.
get the first. There's I don't know how many dynasties there are. I'd have to load up the game, but there's like 9, I think, or something. And
To get, like, all the lords?
yeah,
I think it's
yeah.
6.
Okay, maybe it's only 6.
Yeah,
Let's just
6 or
say
7.
6.
Anyway.
Yeah, 6 or 7. So it takes about like starting off, it takes like 15 or 14 turns to research one dynasty. And once you research that full dynasty, it doesn't actually do anything for you other than increases your army capacity. Meaning that once that long wait time is up, now you can recruit a second lord and create a second army free of charge,
Mhm.
essentially.
Yeah.
Uh, this definitely limits to how quick you can expand. But also once you complete that dynasty, it lowers your research speed. So every time you research a dynasty, it slows down. But it gives you access to specific techs. Like one tree has bonuses to the Nehekhara warriors. One has a bonus to like the cavalry and chariots. One
Yeah.
has a bonus to Shopti and so on and so on.
Carrion.
Carrion, yeah, carrion. Yeah, I get it. I don't even know what to say about them.
I don't
Well,
think there's anything to say other than don't do it. Don't recruit them. They suck at the end.
don't do it, and don't think we're being elitist because we're definitely not like experts by any means, and we're telling you, it, I don't know
Yikes.
if yeah, yikes. Moving on. So yeah, the dynasties. Just don't be intimidated by it, and if you don't know what to do, just do the first dynasty. start seeing where that gets you. Honestly, I'm gonna jump in and like kind of take us out of order here and say, if
Yeah.
you do plays the Tomb Kings, I'd say it was a mistake of mine to play as basically I tried out everybody but Settra. Like I told Archer, Settra was so memeable that I've just like and so popular. I'm like, I've seen people do let's plays of Settra. I'm not interested. I want to
Yeah.
do Arcane the Black or Katep because I
Mhm.
never see anybody playing them. So yeah, start as Settra if you want to play as the Tomb Kings. He's the most well-rounded and the most probably overpowered of all of them.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure. Maybe
I think as a lord, yeah, I think he's probably one of the best in the game, and I think that he's also a lot more straightforward than the other ones.
yes,
Um,
very straightforward.
yeah, like his campaign is just like conquer shit, whereas like with the exiles with Katep, like there's a goal to retake Khemri, and like with Ark in the Black, it's to destroy etc. But like ultimately, it's the easiest because it's just essentially get territory.
Yeah, and collect the books of Nagash.
Yes,
But we'll
actually,
get
it's not even tied to the campaign victories in
really.
Mortal Empires at all. No, it's totally separate. They're just bonuses.
Yeah, some of those bonuses are pretty sweet though. I got lucky on my first one. Got I, I'll save it for later, but I got some good ones.
Yeah, they're
Uh,
worth it, but it's just yeah, it's not tied to your actual success according to the game.
yeah, Vortex. It's all about collecting at least 5 of them,
Okay.
which is good because you know. Anyway, I'll get to that in a bit. So yeah, dynasties we covered that. The next is the Realm of Souls. There isn't too much to say about it. It's something that only has. We talked about how the Realm of Souls is like their afterlife that they tap into. And
Mhm.
in every battle, you'll have a bar across the top that's kind of like murderous prowess from the Dark Elves that has different tiers. As you, I think it's specifically tied to units of yours being destroyed. So if you lose enough units, it hits tier 1. And when it does that, everybody starts regenerating a little
Mhm.
bit.
Yeah.
Tier 2 happens again. Everybody starts regenerating.
Yeah.
And at tier 3, you get 1 free unit of Ushapti, which for
Mm.
a while, this is going to be the only Ushapti you see. Uh, and you get to summon those for, I don't know, it seems like 30 to 45 seconds, maybe a little bit longer.
Yeah, it's a pretty standard length, like a minute.
Mm.
It's kind of interesting though because it's very useful. Like even in the end game, I found it was a nice boon pretty much in every battle.
Well, you can summon them anywhere. It's not like
Yeah.
a priest or a whip caster having to be in range.
Yeah. Exactly.
These Ushapti, they are the going to win you battles in the very beginning.
Hmm.
If you play on very hard, like I did my first campaign, which I didn't play to completion, very hard, you need that is going to win your early battles. You send in your spearmen, your swordsmen, and have your they're not going to be doing anything except holding the enemy in place.
Yeah.
Whether you're fighting other Tomb Kings or whether you're fighting the orcs, the savage orcs, they
Hmm.
do almost no damage. All the damage comes from Settra, your heroes, your archers. Your
Yeah.
archers do a lot of damage,
Hmm.
and these these Ushapti that you summon from the Realm of Souls.
Hmm.
Granted, it's
And
only for 45 seconds, but they tear shit up.
yeah, yeah. Like in terms of like monstrous infantry, in Jesus, monstrous infantry. There we go. Ushabti are probably my favorite I've played as so far. I like Croxagores. I don't love rat ogres, but like Ushabti are dope.
Dude, I invested in them. I got rid of my archers eventually, and you can get archer Ushaptis,
Yes, yes,
and those are badass.
they're really good.
They will take out. I had like I think a line of 4. Like I just,
Oh yeah.
Tetra's army, and they
Hmm.
would drop. Like I went up against a savage orc and beastman army to get one of the books,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and they tore through like 2 Arachnarok spiders and
Totally. Yeah.
like really quick. I mean, I had a lich priest of light cast his it's like a net. that stops one.
Yeah, the Net of Amatok.
And before that net of Amatok, like I think I overcasted it, but before it
Yeah.
had expired, they had basically broken their Ragnarok spider, and
Yeah.
I just had them kill it just for fun,
Yeah, you're just like, you know what, finish it.
Yeah, it was already totally broken. It was not going to come back to the fight, but I was like, hey, let's get him.
Yeah, actually, the thing I really liked about them is that they're siege attackers as well, meaning they can take down towers and gates at range, which is really useful because your artillery isn't super good at that.
No, I didn't try using them as a siege attacker. I was a little nervous experimenting with that. How do they do against towers? Like, is it viable to like have like 2 units take out a tower? Like, I don't know
Yeah.
how fast.
Yeah, because they don't like the thing is they don't have the same like arcing ability as your skeleton spearmen, so they're not incredible at taking things like off the wall. So in most siege situations, I'd usually just let them help the bone giants, and they would, yeah, between like a bone giant and a unit of Ushapti will take down a tower in like, I don't know, 30 seconds. It's pretty quick.
Yeah, I never really got the opportunity to try it. I think I was nervous. I know it said siege attacker, but you know how it is when you haven't played around with a unit. I was just
Yeah.
like, I'm just gonna wait until their tower is built, and then I'm gonna, you know, send my troops in that way without
Yeah.
and who knows what they're doing. See, you learned something new because
Yeah.
I never realized the viability of that.
This is why there's 2 of us.
Yes. So that covers so the Realm of Souls. It's important, like you said, the Ushapti, that 1 free unit, will be a game changer all the way to the end game. They are a decent unit that you always want to have at least maybe like 2 Ushapti in your army, at least in my opinion. They're great.
Yeah. Yeah, they're
Give
good. They're good units.
Give them bows, give them swords. They're gonna tear up pretty much anything that's infantry, armor or
Yeah.
not.
Mhm.
It's great.
It's great.
Their animations are amazing.
Yes.
Every time they after this whirlwind of death, they just strike a pose, and then they go back to doing it.
Yeah,
It's
it's so dope.
so Kemri's initial challenge, at least on Vortex, is easy.
Yes.
And it makes sense. Although if you're playing on this like very hard, I actually, now that I think about it, I did a campaign that lasted only a couple turns on very hard.
Yeah.
It's not as easy as you think. Obviously, when you increase the difficulty, it's not the hardest, but it's not easy. So if you play it on very hard, you're gonna notice it's a bit there's more challenge than what it's telling you there is.
Right. It's probably a normal start.
Yeah, I'd say so. Those Savage Orcs can be tough on very hard because they just crank them out,
Yeah.
really
Yeah, I
fast.
can just spam it at you pretty much.
So underneath the faction effects, he automatically gets +2 public order to all provinces, which I'd like to do a legendary playthrough of him on Mortal Empires because his Mortal Empires start looks awesome. He's just kind of in between the Southlands and the Badlands, and it's a really interesting start position, I think.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. In Vortex, it's a pretty safe starting position. They do a little tricky things like there are only like 2 or 3 cities of the top knots, the Savage Orcs on the
Right.
Vortex map. But even after you defeat them when I was playing on very hard, they would eventually just show up every now and again, like just spawn in and tear up my cities.
It's like Nagash. Just keep
oh my,
coming back.
I thought it was safe, on that side of the map. It ends. There is no world past that, but they'd still keep showing up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the public order bonuses is very helpful. Growth +10 to all provinces. Tomb Kings also suffer from low growth, I think.
Yes.
They're undead. So not a lot of procreation going on there. Or it's it's not exciting. Let's just put
It's
it that
very
way.
dry.
Very dry and boring. Uh, it's like hearing a xylophone or something. I don't know. These are the jokes, people.
You don't come here for the humor.
No, uh, we just go to employ Craig. That's why we come here. So you get a bonus to growth, -1 construction time for province capital settlement buildings, which I basically forgot existed because it seems to take forever anyway. So I
Yeah.
can only imagine without that bonus.
Mhm.
So those are pretty campaign centered effects overall. Like he definitely has that king type of I don't know, feel to him where all of these
Mhm.
bonuses are tied into management and making
Right.
it easier to focus on fighting. You know,
Yeah.
his leadership aura size is plus 100%, so it's twice as large as it normally be. Before you choose any like character traits to level up,
Yeah.
which is great because to keep your skeleton spearmen together, literally. And increased replenishment rate for Tomb Guard and Skeleton Chariots. And the Tomb Guard, I took all the way up to my end game as just
Yep.
a frontline unit.
Mhm.
So they're great. And the Skeleton Chariots, very useful against Wood Elves. I had a problem with the I think the Hunters of Orion or Knights, or I'll get their correct name once we get into the campaign. But there's a Wood Elf. There's a Wood Elf faction down to the south.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know which one.
Yeah,
It's
it's just like one settlement, Orion's camp
Orion's
is what it
camp.
is
Yeah,
in Mortal Empires anyway.
they get very hostile if you don't
Hmm.
get them into line. And the chariots. I had like an entire army of chariots, like to basically take them on, and it worked. It worked out really well. Because they're fast and
Mhm.
they try and fire on the move. But when you get chariots, you just run them down.
Which is hilarious considering that's like what I was doing with Bretonia last week, was just running them down with knights.
Well, I thought it was a lot easier with I was it a lot easier with chariots? I feel like it would be.
This week, I fought them twice. They're pretty much pushovers because I have one settlement, and I had pretty stacked armies by the time I got over there.
Yeah, on the Vortex map, they're pretty close. Or they did. You can get to them in like like 50, maybe not 15 turns, but 25 to 50 turns. You'll be
Oh, okay,
bumping
yeah,
into them. Not a
yeah,
register.
yeah, because they're like the bottom right corner of Land of the Dead there. So yeah, they're pretty inconsequential.
And I mean that's as far as it goes for effects. But the last thing we should mention is you get some starting units. You get some tier or late tier units to add to your early army.
Hmm.
You've got your Tomb Guard Halberds, which try not to lose these guys early on because they're a great oh shit unit that when they're up against like low tier units, they'll hold the line for quite a
Yeah.
while. So save those when you really need to save a Lich Priest, or maybe if you're fighting other Tomb Princes or Tomb Kings, they will get the access to the Realm of Souls ability as well. So always keep in mind if you're fighting other Tomb Kings that eventually, if you're doing well enough, they're going to drop some Ushopti straight onto your archers. And
Yeah.
it's a pain in the ass every
Finish
time.
them before they can summon.
Yeah, because they will tear through those archers really quickly. It
Hmm.
does not take them long.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, great unit to keep in your back line. And you also get you get your kitty cat, the Kemrian War
Yeah.
Sphinx.
Hmm. This is my favorite unit.
Oh, it's great. That's just one of those units you can just have run out in front of your army, and it can tie up like 3 or 4 units, like
Hmm.
just trying to do damage to it.
Yeah.
It's a giant sphinx.
Essentially.
Causes fear, terror, all the good stuff.
Hmm. Very similar to like a Carnosaur, but bigger and more stompy.
Yeah, definitely more stompy. It'd be funny if they kind of played with like the enemy units like a cat would. I think it'd be kind of funny.
I did think it was kind of weird that it makes like actual like tiger roar sounds while being just like a piece of stone haunted by human souls essentially.
I don't know. Maybe they just built the like some sort of I don't know how these things work.
It's the mortuary cult, whatever.
Yeah, I'm just along for the ride. Uh, so that covers everything that leading into the campaign. Uh, Real quick, the starting positions on Vortex and Mortal Empires are the starting positions are almost exactly the same as far as where the city of Kemri is actually located.
Mhm,
All that's different is on the Vortex campaign. You're basically on the edge of the map. Uh, the city of Numas, unlike Mortal Empires, is right next to you to the east, and
mhm,
that's the edge of the map. You've got a fraction of the Badlands to the northeast, and then the rest is, the regular Vortex campaign. Far to the south, you get the jungles, where Krokgar is hanging out,
mhm.
and also Tic Tac Toe. He's hovering, in your general vicinity.
Yeah.
Snickich, unlike on Mortal Empires, you'll be dealing with him pretty quickly. He's hanging out in the desert to the west, doing his thing, getting his ass beat by the Bretonians. Uh, uh, but in comparison, very similar to Mortal Empires. Just different enemies, but same geographical location. And
Yeah.
honestly, if I had time or when I have time, I do want to do the Mortal Empires campaign because like we were talking briefly. Uh, I think it was before the stream. On the Mortal Empires map, I love where he's located.
Mhm,
It's especially with all these new additions that we're getting to the Mortal Empires map.
mhm. Like, the whole campaign is a lot of fun, but the first, like, 10, 20 turns I know that usually pretty much goes for most factions, but first 10 to 20 turns are, like, some of the best of this game I've played.
Yeah, I had intense battles right off the start.
Mhm,
Even just on the Vortex campaign, you get the Savage Orcs to your northeast, and like I said, I tried very hard, and I actually lost pretty quickly. Like, they spawn their armies so quickly. Like, I tried to move on them like turn one, and it's a big mistake. Like, you really gotta have to the Savage Orcs, man. I just gotta say, they have low leadership. Everybody knows that, but they will tear up your front line like no tomorrow. Your
yeah.
skeleton, spearmen, and swordsmen.
Mhm.
They just
Easily countered by arrows, but you just don't have enough of them.
Yeah, you can only have up to 4 archers,
Yeah.
with one of your barracks. So
Mhm.
very limited on how you use them. But tell me about your first opening turns. You did do the Mortal Empires, right?
I did, yes. It
Yeah.
was,
Let me
the
just bring up
longest
the.
campaign.
Oh, I bet. I only did. I had my failed campaign, or the one I definitely lost was maybe only like 10 turns. Then
Mhm.
I had a second try on the same difficulty. That went for about 100 turns, and I kind of stalled out, so I just decided to lower the difficulty so I could finish the damn thing. And I'm a procrastinator. Well, I was still trying, but I finished it all in one day at like 3 in the morning earlier today.
There you go.
Uh, yeah, I did it though.
Mhm.
Uh, so yeah, I got the map up for Mortal Empires. So
Right.
take me through. There's a lot going on down there. You've got let's see, you got all the crusading Bretonian factions very close
Mhm.
by. Uh, you've got Arcan the Black far to the southwest across that little mountain range that
Yeah.
has the dwarves in it.
Mhm.
Tic Tac Toe's directly south, kind of just shoved in there.
Yeah.
Queek is not too far away.
Mhm.
Let's not forget him. He always seems to do pretty well on whenever I do Mortal Empires campaigns. Queek seems to do all right about half the time.
Yeah. Considering he has, like, a hard start, he always does pretty well. And if he doesn't, he gets, um, confederated into Eshin, so he'll be alive.
And what else we got going on over there? You got all the orcs in the Badlands, Top
Mhm.
Knots,
Yeah.
which is just a sub faction, but there's a
So
lot. You're in the middle, sort
yeah,
of that area.
essentially. Yeah, you've got like Tomb Kings to your east and south. There's they're not there anymore actually, but Xandria is held by some vampire counts who have been moved to the swamps in the Badlands now. I saw that as an
Yeah,
update.
yeah, I saw that move. They sort of exist in the Vortex campaign as well. There's like there's one city that has the vampires in there.
Yeah. And then yeah, you got the Bretonians, you got pretty much a lot of things that you're gonna have to worry about later, but nothing immediate depending on how you play it.
What's the first enemy that kind of set you up against? Is it the Savage Orcs as well? I didn't
Not
I
so
didn't do anything with
much.
vampires.
Yeah, like the actual settlements in the South Badlands, I don't think are actually held by anyone until someone goes and gets them.
Okay.
So, like Xandria and Hemry make up a province. So, first thing I did was immediately just like recruit a garbage stack and go for Xandri. And
Hmm.
me playing the way I do, trying to be like somewhat lore friendly, but also have a lot of fun and sort of play the way I want to play. It's just this mix and mash of how I want to do it. um, I was kind of giving the middle finger to everyone, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
Everyone's like non-aggression pact, and I was like no, and pretty much declared war on whoever I felt like. So yeah, I took Xandri. I really just wanted to like take all of former Nehekhara and then sort of move on campaign victories and taking care of getting the books of Nagash and all that. So it was basically me breaking through everything around me. But Wurzag was doing really well, and he extended into like the South Badlands. And so I was in a war with him that started at like 10 turn 10, and I'm still at war with him, and I'm on turn 220.
Jeez.
It's just because I can't finish him off, essentially. But yeah, it's the longest war in my entire campaign. It's hilarious.
That's pretty funny. Usually they try and like sue for peace eventually, at least for a
Mhm.
little while.
Yeah, like I could have gotten peace with him at some point, but I was like, I feel like Settra isn't super big on being like, nah, it's okay, you can live. Like,
Settra does not forgive.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to say fuck you to everyone. Unfortunately, like your economy is so bad that trade agreements are a big part of it.
Oh yeah.
Or can be, especially because you're trying to acquire goods for your crafting anyway. But yeah, I just kind of worked around what was around me. I didn't really want to fight the Tomb Kings that are right around you right away because they can kind of spam at the same rate you can, and they obviously have the advantage of holding a city with walls. So I kind of turned my sights on everything else, but it got. I sort of wanted to kill Arkin the Black before anyone else, but Bretonia decided they didn't like that. And that was kind of my big.
Wait, they didn't like that you fought Arcan the Black?
Well, just because of the direction he is, like I kind of have to go through Bretonian
Oh yeah,
territory to get
yeah.
there. And it wasn't like I was moving towards Arkan like right away. It's just that I was planning to, and Bretonia already just doesn't like you, so they all declared war on me within a turn, and that was my first big conflict, I think. Besides, like, I was fighting wars a good bit, but it wasn't something I was pushing a whole lot. I wasn't like pushing out into the Badlands a bunch because I didn't want to yet.
Hmm. Yeah.
Bretonia is not fun to fight against as lower Tomb King's armies.
Well, I think if they don't have any other mid tier, at least like cavalry,
Mhm.
if they only have the low tier, I think the matchup is good.
Yeah.
But if they got some of their questing knights in there, they it's so hard to take them down.
Yeah.
Especially with like you said, the early game Tomb Guard or the Tomb King units. Like
Yeah.
fighting other Tomb Kings early game is so hilariously boring. It's
Mhm.
like you're basically just your Kemrian War Sphinx is doing everything,
Everything.
and you're just waiting until you can summon the Ushapti to do some damage, and then as soon as you get to do that, they get to do it if they haven't already, and it's
Yeah.
like it's a very boring matchup until you get access to other units, but by then you're probably the only Tomb King around. For the
Yeah.
most part.
Yeah, I don't think I ever fought the Tomb King with anything other than Ushapti and Skeleton Warriors.
I did on the Vortex because there's considerably more different sub factions, which was cool. Definitely had that feel of reunifying Nehekhara at least.
Yeah.
But let's see, the Savage Orcs. It's tough. Any faction you go up against with your early army, it's tough. You know, you're kind of in a. I found I was kind of in a holding pattern until I could get my second army up and running.
Right.
Just to have that second crap stack to run around.
Yeah, exactly.
Just having that whole second army to help you besiege a city really helps out when you don't have any hard hitting units. Like maybe you got 2 Nehekharan warriors, 4 archers is all you can afford. You get some chariots, which are no good on sieges.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's you don't have a lot of good options in the very beginning. And then if you want Ushapti, their building is pretty expensive, not counting all the investment that gets put into upgrading your settlement.
Yeah, exactly. And providing growth somehow, usually with buildings, because there's no other way to actually level up your settlements. It just takes too long.
Yeah, you have to pay for those growth buildings.
Yeah.
And you have to pay for the financial buildings that provide almost no return on your investment.
Nothing. Yeah. I think that like my current income is like 14,000, and that's with all of Nehekhara like into the like Lamia and Libaris, and then most of the Badlands, actually all of the Badlands and a bit into the mountains around there. And I'm making 14 grand a turn.
Well, I mean that's pretty good.
But like with any other faction, that would be in the 20s at least.
No, it really would be. It's like I stated earlier, finances are difficult. You're not paying for armies; it's just the buildings and access to those units. Like you never really feel too bad about losing a unit because you'll just be like, if I have to, I'll just go into global recruitment or something. It's not. Everything about the Tomb Kings felt slow and deliberate in a way that was very thematic, I think. You're waiting for the technology so you can make another army. You're waiting for that building to finish so you can hire just one more unit of Ushapti. But
actually there was a post on Reddit this week that I thought was kind of funny considering we were playing Settra, and it was like the Tomb Kings are the most balanced faction. Changed my mind. I was like, actually though, like they don't feel overpowered. Like even like late game armies, I didn't feel like I didn't have a doom stack. I didn't have anything that was just gonna roll over every army. There wasn't an army I had that could go toe to toe against 2 big armies, except for like Settra's army maybe, and that's because he was soloing one of them. Like they're very balanced. Unless you go like Bone Giant spam, I've seen people do, but for the most part, that's like extremely expensive and hard to get your hands on. So even as a late game army, they're fair, but you still have to play them well to actually get that benefit from them.
It's that I can't argue that the most balanced, because one of the mods I play the most, and I probably will when I update it. I don't do it for the show because it changes everything. Is the SFO Grimhammer mod. And it basically forces every faction to have a similar playstyle where you can only have so many of a unit unless you build another one of those buildings to that level. And it, regardless of the mod, within just the scope of the Tomb Kings, it changes everything. You cannot make a doom stack. There's no what's my best unit? Just spam. You have to, no matter what, you can't forget about your tactics, unless you're in like an easy fight, but for the most part, you're not going to have those easy fights. We got tough enemies. The Bretonians are really good if they get, some of their higher tier units. Like they are, the other Tomb Kings, it's a slog because your units are almost equal. And then it's just a matter of how well you manage your units out in the field. The orcs become less of a problem the more the better units you get, just because you can just lay down the beating so well at a certain point. I only fought really like one siege battle with Snickich in my Vortex campaign.
Okay.
So I had he took a city from me, but I had no garrison there, so it wasn't I didn't really get to see how well I could do against an actual Skaven army. There, I didn't get a good grasp on that makeup, just because the siege is very different from an open field battle. And even still, I could see maybe where the Skaven might have an advantage in numbers. Because I feel like the Ushabti, their melee attack is not super high, so they end up missing a lot, especially with all those Skaven.
I found, because I did fight Eshin quite a bit, that it can go either way. Like, it's actually a pretty tough matchup, because if they're somewhat equal with you and have a decent army, like they're like Jezails, like Rattling guns, you don't have a good answer to that other than like sending War Sphinxes or your Lord or some cheap cavalry, like something to deal with that, just because they will tear through your larger units if you let them. Like your War Sphinxes and your Necro Sphinxes, like all that won't hold very much if the Jezails like set their sights on them, essentially, right? So and then like you're pretty much equal, right? With Tomb Guard and like Storm Vermin, they trade pretty evenly. So it just ends up being who can shut down the other's strength.
Yeah,
And
I think I got lucky with Snickich, because he was definitely on his last legs.
Yeah.
And he did not have any of the fire teams. He did have a lot of his gutter runners and the the other ones. So their skirmishing ability definitely, I didn't go up against Rattling guns, but even his gutter runners were doing pretty well, or well enough, that I had to take those fights seriously. So I can see you definitely right. There doesn't seem to be a solid answer to late game Skaven, because Ushabti with bows and the Bone Giant can shoot really far, but that's you're not firing a bunch of missiles. It's just like a few, and they have benefit from their high model count.
Essentially, and because you have the same sort of idea, whereas your damage dealers are, in this case, constructs, or like your Lord on a construct, and their damage dealer is their missile infantry. It's whoever wins between that is pretty much whoever's going to take it.
So did you have access to the same quest battles in Mortal Empires as Vortex? I know there's one up in Norska that you have to fight for the crown, and then there's a second one for the sword that you fight in the World's Edge Mountains. At least that's where mine took place.
Against like a mix of humans and it's like Empire troops and dwarves.
Yeah. Was the first one you did for the crown? That's the one that kind of opened up for me first.
Yeah, it did the same thing for me. It was sort of I want to say like 40 or 50 turns in.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It involved me raiding the coast of Araby. First I had to build a docks or an upgraded level 2 port, I should say.
Yeah.
And then I had to raid the coast of Araby, and then I think finally the quest battle opened up in Norska. And thank God you can teleport, because that would be a pain in the ass to get up.
I mean, I usually take that option anyway, but it's that one was really tough for me, actually.
No, yeah, I totally agree. I loved the quest battles. The second one, excuse me, not so much. Well, maybe it was just because I brought an overpowered army to that quest battle. But the first one, I got tore up. I thought I was gonna do okay. I had like 2 Ushapti, I think Settra was on a War Sphinx at this point, so I had the one you start out with him and him.
Right.
Uh, I had some decent units, and what? Let me just set it up real quick. The lore in this is at some point the Norskins, come down and start stealing from the cities of Nehekhara, and when Settra goes to confront them, Settra actually he wins, but he gets destroyed in the process by this Norskin, you know, chosen by chaos type guy who
Right.
lands a blow on Settra, destroys Settra's body, which immediately bursts into a bunch of scarab beetles, which devour the guy who kills them. And then the beetles fly off to Khemri to reassemble themselves. And so granted that Norskin tribe leader was killed, and they are still losing the battle, but one of the Norskins pick up Settra's crown and makes off with it, and escapes back to Norska. So this was one of those things that I learned took place over many years. Settra eventually sets sails for Norska and fights a bunch of battles all across Norska, trying to track down his crown.
Yeah.
And that leads us to the quest battle where to get your crown back, you start off you have a very small kind of a area where you begin. It's in a valley in the mountains, like up in the north. So there's snow, lots of trees. You have you're kind of on this like path of trees where it's cleared, and you go to this valley, and on every corner of the map there's a bunch of trees, and in the opening cutscene you see the Norskin leader with a few units all the way across the map from you duck into some trees, but that's all you have. And like the mission tells you, find the Norskin raiders and destroy them. So there's a bit of a hide and seek and ambushes going on. I thought I was being smart and safe, and they still managed to get the drop on me a couple times.
The big thing for me was I somehow went by the hell cannons without seeing them.
Ooh.
Like it didn't discover them for me, so they got like, I don't know, most of my army had moved towards that initial engagement. So I was like, okay, well I'm just gonna go like after him. And yeah, so they got like a couple shots on me, and I was too far away and had nothing fast enough to go deal with that, because it's also surrounded by some pretty decent infantry. So I would have to send a pretty significant force to go deal with that. And yeah, so that was the big thing for me. It was most of my infantry basically got nuked because I got ambushed by the 2 cannons.
Yeah, I was like slowly marching up, and then as you're going forward in the direction of where that Norskin leader ducks into, you get hit from the side on the left. Even though on the opening map, when it kind of shows you where you are spawning and where the enemy is spawning, it doesn't tell you that there's going to be a bunch of units off to your left when you come in, and they kind of hang out until you start getting towards the middle. Like right when the hell cannons opened up, they kind of came out from the trees.
Yeah.
And I wasn't exactly how to distribute my forces, and I think I still beat them, but I lost quite a few of Tomb Guard, just to those hell cannons. I mean, every hit just tears them up. Nothing you can do, and there's 2 of them, and you're in the middle of the valley, and I immediately sent my Ushapti, both of them, straight for them. I was like, you got to get rid of these guys.
Nope. Nope.
Yeah.
I think I survived with like 10% health on a Scorpion, and same sort of thing for like Settra and a Tomb Prince, and that was pretty much all that survived for me.
Oh wow. Yeah.
I got beat to shit on that battle because I got through like 3 of the 4 forces, and the balance of power was like very in my favor. So I was like, oh, okay, there must be just like one pocket of a couple of units of infantry or whatever.
Same thing.
And then, same. I couldn't find them, so I just spent all my troops and like scoured the map, and I couldn't find them. And eventually, like a necrotech found them,
Oh,
and it was like 3 or 4 units of infantry, and there was like a chaos lord and a giant, and I didn't have much to deal with them at all. Like my archers were gone. I think I had maybe a little bit of tomb guard left, so I was basically down to like my heroes just like running over them and running away and like tearing them apart one by one, and it was rough.
yeah. For me, it was I missed. There's a couple chaos trolls and the giant were
Mhm.
somehow collected together,
Yeah.
and it was the Cambrian War Sphinx and Settra that ran into them because I started scattering people all over the place because I was like, where the fuck are these guys?
Yeah.
And then that War Sphinx, I almost lost it in that fight.
Mhm.
I lost some Tomb Guard, and I didn't lose any Ushopti, the ones that really mattered, at least to me.
Right.
So,
Mhm.
but I did. It was like a close victory or something like that. I wasn't. I just couldn't believe I kept getting the drop. Like the enemy kept getting the drop on me. So this was one of the first quest campaigns that I've actually been impressed with. Uh,
Yeah.
there was you had a lot of options. Like I didn't need to march straight into the valley, but I did. And
Right.
like an idiot, I got opened up by 2 hell cannons and then an ambush from my side. Like, granted, it was a small ambush, but it still took away some forces that
Mhm.
you know couldn't deal with the chaos knights that came in. It
Yeah.
was it, it was a well scripted or well planned out quest battle. I
Mhm.
this is the first one I really liked, actually, so that's why I just want to harp on it a little bit.
Yeah,
Um,
no, like, as much as it pains me to do so, because it absolutely kicked my ass, like, I think it's the best one, that we've covered anyway.
mm,
Certainly better than Mouse's fucking ramp battle.
yeah, I'm gonna hate that until CA. Forget the next DLC. Just go back and fix that for me,
Just
please.
fix the ramps.
The ramps. Who was smoking what? I don't know. But the second quest battle,
Mhm.
I have less to say. I like the mix up
Yeah.
a bit more.
Mhm.
Oh, real quick. So, uh, no, I'll wait until I'm done with this. Now that I'm talking about it, so you're facing off against 2 armies. One's the Empire, and one's dwarves who come with some squigs,
Yeah.
apparently. Uh,
Apparently, yep.
so that's fun, I guess. I think I broke the AI a little bit because I was like, oh shit, those Empire guys got like 3 mortars. And
Mhm.
I was like, okay, so I'm just gonna like the humans, or the Empire is like kind of on your left, and the dwarves are on your right. And I just immediately just moved to the right side because there's kind of like a ridge that kind of
Yeah.
separates the two for
Mhm.
most of it. And I just started firing my casket of souls at the Slayers, and the dwarves pretty much engaged me. They had their flamethrowers. I forget what they're called, but
The
they
Iron
were
Drakes?
the Iron Drakes. They were tearing
Yeah.
me up a little bit, but I at least drew out the dwarves mostly before I had to worry about the mortars.
Mhm.
Uh, so I wasn't too, AI is AI. I wasn't too impressed that I was able to just basically pull the dwarves at me by themselves. And it wasn't until I was like almost done dealing with them that the Empire really started making a move to come towards me.
Mhm.
Because 3 units of mortars is a lot, and even if they weren't picking out the best targets, I'm sure they would have torn me up. You know, more than they did had they tried like pushing themselves into range.
I I kinda had a different experience because at this point, I had kind of conquered most of like, basically to the coast on the west side of the desert there.
Mm.
So, I was pretty powerful, and Setro was fairly leveled up, so he had, I think, most of his magic, and I had also just crafted some stuff specifically for him that wasn't, a quest item, and so he kinda just soloed the human army.
Really?
And then and then I cleaned up with the rest of my forces with the dwarfs, and that was pretty much it.
Damn, that's pretty badass. Was he on the Kembrian War Sphinx, or did you have him on the Chariot of the Gods?
No, I went for the War Sphinx. I
Yeah.
thought about like obviously the chariot's the lore way to go, but I was just like War Sphinxes are cool.
Yeah, I did the Chariot of the Gods for like just the final battle, which is a terrible time to switch mounts because
Uh,
you don't really understand how it works.
yeah.
And I did it just to be lore friendly, and I'm like,
Mhm.
I was like, I still like the War Sphinx better, unless I don't know, maybe
I
I
mean, it's better in sustained combat and like you lose some charge bonus, I guess, but you don't have to manage it as much.
yeah, and that's what I liked about having him on the War Sphinx. I buffed him up quite a bit. Uh, yeah,
And yeah,
if
like with
what
some of the items you can get, and with reanimate, did you ever get
reanimate?
that on any of your lords? Like normally with lords, you get like rally, and then you can upgrade it to hold your ground.
Hmm.
With and it's usually just like a leadership bonus. Like it's sort of to bring back.
Oh yeah, I have reanimate.
Okay,
I don't have resurrect though.
gotcha. Yeah, because I was gonna say resurrect is like a must-have.
Yeah, Jesus, I didn't even make it that far because I think Settra for me is only level 31. I mean, I'm only 110 turns in to finish the Vortex campaign.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah, but I, I never even looked at that before. That's resurrect. 16 leadership and 480 hit points.
yeah.
That's pretty powerful.
And you can like amass a huge amount of infantry and just pop that once or twice, and depending on how damaged they are, like heal them up a decent amount because it does it for every unit that's like within the circle. So you get crazy regeneration at the end of the map. It's not an incredible amount because it's very quick,
Mm.
but it can turn if you're like the enemy's running away. You have a decent amount of time. You can pop it a couple of times, and that's like 1,200 health for all of your units essentially.
Yeah, that you ain't kidding. That's effect range is 40 meters. That's pretty far. Yeah, if you get them all stacked up in there.
Yeah, it's I was kind of surprised because I don't usually go for rally or hold your ground, but I was like, oh my god, this like this is so good.
They are the most balanced, it seems like. Other than the trait for renowned and feared, because I didn't even bother getting that for Settra, because I was just like, I mainly get renowned and feared for the upkeep reduction.
Right.
And this one, it was like, you get one extra recruit rank and 5% campaign movement range. Nothing worth investing in other than I just needed lightning strike out of the blue tree.
Mhm.
That was pretty much all I wanted. And I didn't tend to sack settlements. I was always occupying.
Yeah,
Or
like it's so important as the Tomb Kings to like actually hold the territory and secure it that you don't really I didn't really sack. I don't think maybe once or twice when I wasn't really interested in taking the city. I raised a few times, but for the most part you're occupying.
yeah, like I raised the Wood Elf settlement,
Yeah.
and then I would keep raising it whenever Prokhgar would move in. Uh, that was on like the campaign I gave up on. But
Right.
yeah, I was like, I'm not even gonna try bothering with that. But
Yeah.
even if it was in an unpleasant climate, I was still occupying. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Uh,
mean, it's the only way to make money, really.
yeah, it is. Every little bit counts, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, basically.
Real quick, I just want to mention the crown of Nehekhara, like
Mhm.
what it's great for.
Yeah, yeah.
It gives you 10 armor, a lot of physical resistance, 15% to be exact. All great stuff. Increased chance of intercepting people whenever they use the underway, world routes, beast paths. And then you get this augment that's constant, and it affects all the allies in range of you. Gives them extra charge bonus, base weapon damage, and armor piercing. So it's a great enchanted item, I think, especially for supporting other units. Couple that with like your Necrotect and his buffs that he gives to the constructs. Pretty
Mhm.
powerful. Then you get the quests for the Blessed Blade of Petra when you fight off against the Empire and Elves, and I thought this weapon was great.
Hmm.
You get public order to all provinces,
Yeah.
melee attack, weapon strength, magical attacks. So you're doing that armor piercing, and
Yeah.
the ability, the Blessed Blade of Petra, where you do fire damage for 43 seconds. It blinds the enemy, which means it lowers their accuracy, their melee attack, and melee defense.
Pretty
Basically,
significant.
yeah, very significant. You're going to be beating the shit out of them if
Yeah.
you use that on the enemy lord. I
Hmm.
took out Nagash, or not Nagash, Arcan the Black, and like I used that on him, and I took him out in like no time. Coupled
Yeah.
with his Djaf's incantation to buff him up. Just
Like the armor piercing spell.
yeah, I just
Yeah.
wrecked it. Arcan
Yeah.
Black. It when it asked me in the final battle to take him out, like I probably at my army's detriment just like charged out there and took him out, and I was like, "Why isn't the battle over? I took out Arcan, and you still have to finish it."
Yeah.
Uh,
That's not. There's that quest isn't in Mortal Empires.
ooh, okay.
So yeah, like I just had the crown one and the Blessed Blade, so I haven't played the Nagash or the Arcan fight.
I know something you don't know.
Classic
Finally,
Vortex, yeah.
yeah. Do you want me to cover that final battle real quick?
Yeah, I'm kinda interested interested because I didn't get the chance to. I was too busy trying to get the fucking books in Nagash to even go and play that quest battle.
So eventually, once you get collect, the goal of the Vortex campaign is to collect 5 books of Nagash. There's, I forget, 7 in total, 9 in total. How many is it? Do you know offhand?
There's 8 in the Mortal Empires, and then there's 9 total, but you can get 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you collect 5, and you get the Battle of the Black Pyramid, uh, which is where Arca the Black is trying to bring back his old buddy Nagash. Uh, it's got this great setup where you're on one side with your allies. You get Khalida to one side and Katep to the other, and they both bring in armies of their own. But Arcade the Black kind of sends a bunch of waves of Tomb King units and Vampire Count units at you. You get Crypt Ghouls, you know, uh, you know, what's Necrosphex Colossus? I think he's got one of those.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's got a lot of
Some
big.
weird shit.
Yeah, he's got a lot of shit that he throws at you.
Oh.
Ghouls, he throws everything in the kitchen sink at you. Hero Titans, I think he's got at least a couple of those.
Mhm.
And it's a tough fight. Khalida gives you it's this ability that you get from your garrison. Was it if you ever build a Tower of Bone garrison in a city, it gives
Mhm.
you the Legionary Barrage.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
Khalida, like she's like, quick, call out like the artillery, and you get a few times that you get to use the Legionary Barrage, which is
Mhm.
like a wind spell. It's awesome.
Is that the one with, like, the blue arrows that drop everywhere?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super good.
Dude, it shreds people.
Yeah, it's quite good.
You get that, and then Katep brings the Scarab Beetles. I forget what the power is called, but it's like a wide area of effect. Uh, Creates a bunch of those beetles that come out of nowhere.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I didn't
so
get that one, yeah.
yeah, I've never used it outside of that one battle, so I don't really remember exactly what it's called. But they both kind of lend you their powers, and
Right.
Khalida got taken out right away because she immediately like charged up the center.
Yeah.
I couldn't even get I tried even catching up with her with Settra in the chariot, and I couldn't make it to her.
Mhm.
And then Katep was with me for a little bit, but he got taken out. But they both bring good units. Like Khalida brings like 2 hero titans. Katep brings I, I don't know, some Ushapti, uh, probably some other things. There's just so much chaos. Like
Yeah.
I played it at 3 in the morning, and it was like you just keep getting waves of enemies, like it's like Tomb King units. Then it's the vampire units come at you. Then more
Mhm.
Tomb Kings with a mix of the vampires, and
Right.
then it's like Arcan's finally showed his face, and
Mhm.
then he shows up with even more powerful units, like 2 more hero titans, and I lost almost my entire army just winning that one fight. Like I won it with Settra being barely alive. I think my Lich Priest barely made it. I think my Necrotect was wounded. Thank
Mhm.
God they were immortal. Not that it matters.
Yeah.
The thing's over. But I lost all these units that were like at maxed, experience rank.
Yeah.
So that kind of hurt. Uh, but that's a battle that I've enjoyed all of these quest battles considerably more than any of the other ones really. They've
Mhm.
made more of an impression. Like I couldn't tell you what happened in Snickich's or Malice's battles. Honestly, I can't.
Besides the ramp one.
I remember I liked one of Noctilus's fight where you have to like climb up that hill that has the rocket battery on it. That was
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
But no other quest battles have really been as coherent as this one.
Right.
And it makes a good epic battle. Like I said, I was so exhausted. I played it at 3 in the morning, and it was just like I think my wife probably tried to say goodnight to me, and I was just like, yeah.
Fuck you, Arcad.
I lost my Necrosphinx that had been with me in the whole game in that one fight. Like I lost so many units that I'd grown considerably attached to, just like
Yeah.
trying to make it. And I probably could have fought it a lot better, but it just overwhelms you.
Mhm.
You're in the middle, Cutup's on your left, Kalita's on your right, and they're both losing. And you're like, how the hell do I salvage this? Because I got my own battle to fight too.
Mhm.
And I probably shouldn't have switched to Chariot of the Gods, but I did it just so maybe I saved the recording, so maybe I can find some good pictures.
Right.
You can send me any too if you have any. Trying to find one
Most
for
of
the
my pictures are from me trying to get Necrosphinxes to 1v1 other giant things.
oh
For some reason, that was like my favorite side goal. Was just like wonder what like a Necrosphinx can do, like just against like a Chaos Giant or, um, like Arachnarok spiders or anything. I was just like, ooh, big monster! Like send the Necrosphinx and see if I can get a cool picture.
No, well, let me know if you got any. Just
None of them have Settra in it though.
oh yeah. I realized that. Yeah, I'll see if I can get a good one of him on the Chariot of the Gods, but I don't.
Yeah.
It was just too. Yeah, it was a great battle for the Black Pyramid. I felt pretty accomplished for it was not as difficult as Marcus Wolfheart's.
Right.
Uh, but the final battle definitely was a lot tougher than his. Oh yeah, I remember Marcus's last battle.
Yeah.
Kind of similar to that. Even more chaotic in my opinion because it was in a
Yeah.
smaller area. You don't have. You're kind of in this corridor leading up to the Black Pyramid.
Mhm.
Uh, I yeah, it was a great final quest battle. Definitely had the drama to it because
The
I
drum.
did well. I did not know if I was going to beat it the whole time. I just felt like I was losing.
Right.
Everything was a nail biter, and
Mhm.
yeah, it
Came
was
down to the wire.
very much so, very much so.
Yeah. Mm.
Uh, we didn't really like go through how our campaigns went. We kind of just breezed through the quest battles.
Yeah. I kind of talked about the beginning of mine, but we haven't really covered yours much.
Um, it's a pretty straightforward story of expansion.
Mhm.
The top knots are immediately to your northeast of Kemri on the Vortex
Yes.
map.
Yep.
They have like 3 cities. Uh, they are do not make the mistake of going straight after them. A lot tougher than they look. Tear up your front line. Uh, don't really know much to say other than make sure you have
Interesting.
archers and maybe some chariots. Chariots do
Mhm.
okay too.
Mhm.
Uh, I you know what? I'm just gonna make this a more general story because I'd rather do that. So remember how you said you sort of role played a little bit into a
Yeah.
mix of yeah. So I kind of did that too. I was like Nehekhara is mine, so anything I do is strictly to my benefit.
Right.
Uh, it gave me a message or a quest to get a non-aggression pact with Numas to my
Hmm.
east.
Yep.
And they start off with they start off with like almost their own province, basically. They've got the capital city of Numas, and they got the smaller one of Qatar. And
Okay.
I made a non-aggression pact with them for a long time until
Yeah.
eventually the top knots came back and destroyed. They raised one of my cities, and Numas, like the bastards, they were moved in and colonized it before I could do
Classic.
anything.
Yeah.
And as soon as they did that, I was like, "Oh, it's on." I was so pissed. I can consistently destroy alliances when that happens. I
Yeah.
get so angry. Like
Yeah.
it's like that belongs to me. It's like,
It's
well,
it's a slap in the face, yeah, every time.
it is a slap in the face, and you can just imagine like the AI being like, "Why didn't you have your name on it?"
Yeah, and you're just like, "You little bitch." Like,
Yeah, that's it. We're all gonna die now. Uh,
it's kinda what happened to me when I beat back Bretonia, and all that was left was Rapant sitting in Sofer, the city she starts off in Mortal Empires,
hmm.
and I was like, Settra's army was moving toward it, and right before I was, like, minimal distance between I couldn't attack it that turn, I was gonna attack it next turn, and just because I couldn't reach it. And in the end turn, they got confederated with Lewin the Encore.
Oh,
So I had to declare war on basically a united Bretonia at that point, just to take this one city and complete like my complete annihilation of all the Bretonians and take Nehekhara back. And I was just like, fucking son of a bitch. Because I knew that their player bias was going to come for me. And it was probably not worth it, but damn, it felt good to like get rid of them, but then they just came back so hard it wasn't even worth it.
so they did retaliate.
Yeah, like they sent for I don't know, 30-ish turns. Every couple of turns they'd send 220 stacks and try to take Virus.
Wow.
So yeah, for a while I had two armies, like two full 20 stacks, one sitting in Virus and one sitting in Al Haik, and just waited for them to come. And eventually they stopped coming because I think they got beat by other people and they didn't have the resources. But yeah, for a while it was like Lou and the Encore would come with a full stack and another army, and then like right after I got rid of him, like an Albric was there, like just barely scraped through that, and the Fanchantress shows up and floats her way up to my fucking city. It was a nightmare for a while.
You know, you bring up a point that I wanted to bring up. Those extra armies that you get, you end up having to station them in
Yes.
places
Yeah.
because because of the limitations. Yeah, you get an extra army, but you can't put the stuff that are going to win those battles in there.
Mhm.
Uh, Real quick, you know, you get that mountain range in the vortex that's to
Mhm.
the east.
Right.
That are in the Mortal Empires, it's like an actual pass that
Yeah.
goes, you know, with Queek in there.
Yeah.
Now it has Grom, but in the Vortex, you know, it's just the Arachnarok tribe. Uh, I took that, and the big problem was once I kind of moved down south to Orion's camp, they declared war on me, uh, which in turn caused the dwarves to go to war with me. And you know, I took the Carrick Zom, which
Okay.
is
Yeah.
like the southernmost in the that canyon.
Mhm.
And then Orion's camp, you have, you know, it's uninhabitable. So I burned it to the ground. And
Yeah.
right about this time, Tic Tac Toe got confederated. Well, he's not at first. First, Krokar came at me. Then Tic Tac Toe came at me. So this entire jungle, which is, you know, uh, it's unpleasant, I should say.
Yeah.
Uh,
Orange.
yeah, it's They they would not stop coming.
Mhm.
As soon I would beat back army after army, but they did their, you know, that, that right that gets them a bunch of like the stegodons and carnosaurs and stuff.
Oh, the Rite of Primeval Glory.
The right of primeval glory.
Mm-hmm.
I at this point I was holding off invasions from them to the south. The top knots returned. We're wrecking cities, and then I had a turn on Numas. Went to war with them, so now I'm technically on a war on all sides, honestly, except the north, which is just the ocean. Uh, the the, the errantry Bretonian factions were
Yeah.
just sending wave after wave at me.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I was running around in circles. The Black Pyramid of Nagash has that sub faction that starts there.
The Sentinels, yeah.
Yeah, the Sentinels. So yeah, pretty sure it's the same Immortal Empires.
Yeah.
I was waiting to go at them because I was dealing with so many other problems,
Mm-hmm.
and eventually they created 3 stacks of
Yeah.
armies
Yeah.
and took out Kemri, or they occupied Kemri.
Oh,
And
really?
and in doing so, it pissed me off because I built the Great Pyramid of Settra there, and when they occupied it, they knocked down my settlement level,
Fuck.
and it got rid of that. And it takes like 10 turns to build this pyramid or something like that. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's like 15 grand too, which is a huge ass number as the Tomb Kings, especially
Yeah,
early on.
it was bad. And granted, I got the Black Pyramid out of it because I did enough damage between the garrison and then defeating those armies.
Mm-hmm.
Because like before, we mentioned that your armies, if they break, they disintegrate. So for our listeners, if you do win a battle, chances are you've wiped out the entire enemy. Like, they never survive. So it's
Yeah.
really great when you can lure enemies outside of their cities, which does happen. The AI will be like, "Oh, I can win this," and then they lose, and now you no longer have to assault the walls.
Yeah.
So saves you a lot of time doing that.
Yeah.
Uh,
What I had to do with the rest of the Tomb Kings once I'd taken out pretty much everyone except them was they had like 3 or 4 pretty shit stacks just sitting outside. So I just ran up with my like construct army as Settra and just lightning strike them until there was like one lord sitting there, and I just attacked him and had the garrison come out. And yeah, I didn't ever have to like assault them because I just slowly took away everything that was standing there.
Dude, I don't know what I was thinking when I played it on very hard. I did not unlock Lightning Strike like a moron. I
It's not super useful, honestly. That was the only time I thought it was justified. For the most part, most of my armies didn't need it.
Yeah, but Lightning Strike is one of those things. When you need it, you really wish you had it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Uh, that's where my campaign kind of stalled out. I'm probably sitting. Let's say my Vortex campaign I finished is at 110, and I'm probably in the ballpark within 5 turns on my very hard campaign, and
Yeah.
I've made like no progress. They just like I've kind of taken over the center of Nehekhara. My empire ends where the jungle begins in the south.
Right.
Um, the errantry factions are holding me back. It's one of those things where I screwed up by trying to do it the Settra way. Maybe I could win eventually. That was the feeling I got, was like, if I keep pushing through, I can win this. Maybe I'm wrong, but it was so tedious running back and forth. And because I had backstabbed people like Numas, because, well, I took it as a slap in the face that they took that settlement. But
Yeah.
I had, it was like a this is total war campaign. There was not a faction that was not declaring war on me at a certain
Yeah.
point.
Mhm.
And like player preference, they're all coming for you as soon as they get a
Mhm.
stack of units, and
Yeah,
usually it's
exactly.
2.
Yeah.
And that's when I decided, I'm like, I'm just gonna switch it to hard. And now on my final campaign, I'm actually in a defensive alliance with Thegan's errantry, I think it is.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, I've made friends with all the errantry. We're all trading with each other. Snickich, I never made a deal with him because that's who I sided with on my first campaign, and he gets wiped out pretty quickly.
Oh, okay.
What is this? Sudenberg, which is like the Empire faction in the Vortex that's kind of out there. They're doing okay. They get like they took some of Arcane the Black's territory. Let's see, Nagarond has just showed up in what's his name? No. He showed up in the Southlands. Krokar. He's taken some of Krokar, or formerly Tic-Tac-Toe's territory.
Okay, yeah.
So he showed up, and thank God Nagarond showed up because they started confederating. And I think it was only then that even in the campaign I won, there's a lot of friction between me and the last defenders.
Yeah.
And I would like take a city, and he would sue for peace, and then he would declare war on me. So I'd take one more city, and then he'd ask for peace again, and then I just kept accepting it because I was like, I was so traumatized by fighting in the jungles the first time. Kind of like maybe not the same as the Enchanted Forest, but it was if they get a good army, like, and you don't have like the right constructs, it's tough to fight them. Those monstrous units tear through a lot of your units, and they get into your back line. And I didn't enjoy fighting the lizard men as this this faction, and it didn't help that I got held back because every time I was doing well, I was on a war in all fronts. Then the orcs, the savage orc tribes, would just show up in the middle of my undefended areas, and they would just sack cities, raise them. And all this progress I had made would be gone,
The fight against the lizardmen's kind of funny because you kind of depend on the same thing, like big, large, single entity units like necrosphinxes, and then they have like carnosaurs and stegodon. So the big difference is that they have really good infantry and you don't.
Yeah, and the one thing too is like in my situation is I kept losing access to those buildings when I'd get a city sacked.
Yeah.
So it was like, now if I lose that unit, they're gone. That's it,
Yeah.
But I mean, you're right. They do have similar strengths, but their infantry is a whole lot better.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know how you felt about the magic being used.
I tried using the Nehekhara school of magic with Settra at first, and I really liked. I mean, let me see if I can bring it up. It's a ward save spell. Like I was really trying to make him a hybrid caster.
Yeah.
Type deal. Let's see. What's it? Neuro's incantation of protection. It gives 44% physical resistance.
Right.
Which is pretty great. I would cast. I'd send out the War Sphinx out front, and then I just keep casting that on the War Sphinx to like keep it alive.
And it's a pretty cheap spell as well.
Yeah, how much does it cost?
It's like 4
10?
or something.
I think it's 10, or is that overcast?
Oh, maybe overcasted. I thought it was pretty.
I can't tell. I think it's just every time I hover over it, it's telling me what it costs overcasted. But if you max it out, the overcast only costs 8. So
okay.
So an overcasted 8, that's not a lot.
For 40% physical resist, yeah.
yeah, pretty damn good. So I never even got past the first tier because I started like he's got a lot of other good stuff. Unyielding will, just a constant buff around him for melee attack and melee defense.
Yeah.
Extra recruit ranks, extra leadership, all things focused around the Tomb Guard, public order, unit capacity for Tomb Guard.
Yeah, that's nice.
Lot of good stuff that makes him individually more powerful, and a lot of things that make his Tomb Guard definitely a great force to be reckoned with. At least a whole lot more survivable.
Did you just use Nehekhara magic, or did you try any other ones?
I did light for the first time on my winning campaign. Light was okay. I used the protection spells, the net. The net was very useful when I had my Ushapti archers.
Yes, it's very nice.
Banishment was good, but it also hurt me sometimes.
Yeah, it's a very damaging vortex spell, but it is kind of one of the more wild ones.
I built one of the weapons for the Necrotect that I had in my I had Settra, a Necrotect, and a Lich Priest.
Right.
And the Necrotect, I gave him this weapon that you can build in the Mortuary Cult that gives you 2 castings of banishment off of the
Oh
weapon.
yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah,
was
I got
great.
that one as well. Yeah, that one's good.
Mm.
Yeah, and then pretty much just avoided death magic.
I'm actually okay with death magic. I like the just the spirit leech.
Yeah,
I have one army. It's like kind of like my secondary army. He's got a death uh lich priest.
right.
But that's really what I use it for. Just that direct damage.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't do anything fancy with him really. Uh, but what did you experiment with? It sounded like you made Settra a little bit of a caster.
A little bit. I kind of started to, and then I was like, "Oh, right, I only have 40 points. I better like kind of decide what I want to do with him." So I decided to kind of hold off and give him stuff that I wanted anyway, like more general stuff, like the Ushabti or the Tomb Guard unit capacity sort of thing. And then I had another Lich Priest and another army level up, and I was just kind of experimenting with the spells to see what I wanted. So I didn't end up going too far with Settra, but I did try it with other ones, and it's okay. I don't know. It's kind of similar to um, like the deep spells from Vampire Coast. Like they're okay, but I'll take other things if there's something better. So I ended up usually going light because I think net of Amatok and banishment combined are pretty decent. A little bit better than the Nehekhara magic.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of curious. Like maybe the Nehekhara magic will uh be a bit better with another legendary lord, like maybe Khalida. Like I was doing a bit of Grom's campaign, and
Mhm.
the troll hag that you start off with is a death magic caster, but
Yes.
she does have buffs for leadership. So I
Right.
like I said, I haven't got a lot of testing out, but my plan is to lean heavily into spirit leech, but then also the buffs to leadership that death magic provides, and
Yes.
seeing if that can really make up for the the weaknesses in
Yeah.
the
And the
greenskins.
greenskins, yeah. Yeah, that's a
And
good
if
idea.
yeah, and if it works, that means, like I thought the beast magic for the dark elves, if you had like a really powerful beast that you wanted to buff up, the
Mhm.
beast magic was actually, not
Worth
good
it.
for damage dealing, but great for making your God, what is that thing called? It's Kyberdos or something.
Oh, the Carabitus or whatever?
Carabitus, yeah, like
Yeah.
it made my Carabitus unstoppable.
Yeah.
Like, and so I want to look for those situations where to make those things, just to make things interesting. I don't want to do
Mhm.
fire magic every single time.
Yeah. It's interesting to definitely, like, experiment with a new, because yeah, this is my first time playing Tomb Kings and first time experimenting with the magic. So it is interesting.
Yeah, and it's a bit sad that I felt like uh maybe I should have leaned more into the Nehekhara magic, but honestly, I like the constructs so much that like I was managing troops more often than I felt like I was casting magic.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, Net of Amatok, fire into that. But other than that, occasionally dropping a spell that would I think it's just the defensive one. It's just one that increases defense or something. Uh what is it? I don't know. It's just a light spell that gives you extra like physical resistance.
Mhm.
And but I really had a lot of fun managing the constructs once
Yeah.
I realized what they were good for and how to use them. I mean, it's obvious now that I've used them, but Tomb Kings are. Would you say they're the most complicated? I mean, because even a Malice Darkblade felt more straightforward than this, in a way.
Most complicated in terms of, like, just managing your troops or
Well, yeah, your troops, your finances, trades really important. The the way your units are limited by the number of buildings that you have, it's like night and day, honestly, between playing this and the other races.
Overall, yeah, like it is a very different experience. I found it fairly manageable. Definitely not nearly as micro intensive as Bretonia is, like in
No,
actual
no.
battles. But like there is some things, yeah, like you can pretty easily lose a Sphinx if you're not paying attention, and so yeah, there's a little bit of micro, and there's a lot going on. But I find by like the mid game, you've pretty much got it under control.
Yeah, I was getting overwhelmed at a certain point, but then things started coming into. I started to understand what was going on.
Yeah, yeah, it's another learning curve, but I didn't feel as intimidated or like I didn't have that moment like I did in Albert's campaign where I was like, "Holy fuck, I suck at this game."
No, I definitely never felt that way. Maybe when I was getting my ass beat by the top knots on my very first campaign, like the learning curve when you just do it on very hard, and you've literally never played as them before, really.
Right.
I just went straight after the top knots, and it was like Pyrrhic victory after Pyrrhic victory, and then finally I lost, like within like the first like 6 turns.
Mhm. I found actually that auto resolve kind of does you dirty the same way that it does with Vampire Coast.
Oh yeah, I've pulled off some pretty crazy wins. I faced off against like 3 different armies at once and pulled it
Mhm.
off.
Yeah, like pretty much even if it's a guaranteed win and one that doesn't look like you're gonna have a whole lot of losses, it'll still just nuke one unit. I'm like, I had to fight so many more extra battles than I did with like even Bretonia from last time. I was fighting like every second battle.
Yeah, the anytime it was a lizard man battle, I had to fight it.
Yeah.
Uh, if it was a if it was I think a vampire coast because I went over to Lustria, I had to
Mhm.
fight it. Although
Yeah.
I've only fought a couple battles with them, like maybe like
Mhm.
3. Uh, Greenskins, I think I did auto resolve once they started raiding. Like they didn't have full stacks; they'd have like 10 to 15, and I could auto resolve some of the fights,
Mhm.
but like I said, every once in a while I just get a new greenskin army that would show up in my doors, and
Right.
I'd have to do at least some damage to it. Uh,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, like endgame, I found it like I could pretty much auto resolve on greenskins, but yeah, early mid game, I was usually fighting them just because you really had to manage how many, like how much actually made it to your front line. Otherwise, you'd get pretty much smashed. Like you definitely had to get as many units as possible on like a Sphinx or your Lord or whatever just to keep it tied up.
yeah, and then fire arrows into their backs and sides.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, the one that was biggest for me that I had to fight every single time was the dwarves. I After I'd taken like Nehekhara and sort of pushed north because you have to. Part of collecting the books in Mortal Empires is taking certain settlements.
Yeah, Carrick 8 peaks.
Yes, you have to take Carrick Eight Peaks. You have to take Skaven Blight. You have to take the White Tower of Hoeth. It's ridiculous,
That's
and
well, you're the king of kings.
yeah, it felt weird to take like just sail into Ulthuan and take it, but yeah. Anyway, I had pushed up through most of the Badlands, and Krasar Krak had actually been on decent terms with me, but Carrick Adrian, who they were like military allies with, was raiding me, and they wouldn't stop, and so I was like, okay, like time to fuck off, like
And of
I
course
don't
you get
want you here.
punished.
Yeah, and then like Krasar Krak declares with them, obviously. And so I was in a battle with them for 120 turns probably by the end of it. Because what had happened is I'd like pushed north enough that I met them, but Eshin had done well enough that like the southern end of the mountains was all of Snickages essentially. So I had taken Barrack Var, like right where the border princes usually are, and every second turn, I had 2 armies up there for like most of the game, and they'd send 2 or 3 armies. I'd have to like lightning strike, take one of them out, let the other one come siege, and like double up on them. It was ridiculous, and I had to fight every single one because dwarves have a crazy auto resolve bonus, and their units are just really good. Like I really had to play some of my hardest battles to try and just like keep the dwarf warrior tide from washing over me.
I think there was one tough battle I had against I don't know the name of the tribe. It's the one in the World's Edge Mountains on the Vortex map.
Mhm.
I had like an army, a stack and a half come at me, but I got lucky. It was on one of the maps where I had like a bridge basically in the
Right.
desert. Like it was a
Mhm.
canyon and a small little pass.
Oh,
And
okay, yep.
and that casket of souls, like the dwarves like bunched up like you wouldn't believe. And that casket of souls got like 1,000, like it was over 1,000 kills it got in that one
Damn.
fight. Like it was glorious. And their leadership, yeah, it's great, but if you wipe out like half their army before they even get to you, like
Mhm.
let the skeletons wear them down until they're tired, and then send in the Ushapti like
Yeah.
around them.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing with dwarves too, is if you win, you pretty much not completely destroyed them, but chances are they don't have too much left.
No, they can't get away.
Yeah.
Hopefully when we get around to playing as the dwarves, we get to feel the auto resolve benefits. Like maybe we won't have to fight every single battle for once.
Yeah. It'll be nice to just steamroll things. Who knows with the greenskin changes though, and like how many more patches are gonna come in this game? I I don't know.
I mean, I've done some of Karaza Karak on very hard,
Mhm.
prior to this, and
Yeah.
I get bogged down as soon as I start heading south, like because the greenskins will just go right around you, like, and
Yeah.
you cannot afford more than one army,
Yeah.
and they just duck on by you at
Mhm.
yeah. Uh,
Yeah, I think the common strategy there is just like take the initial province you're in and hold it until the greenskins kind of peter out.
yeah. I mean, it seems like a more realistic way it
Mhm.
should go. Like,
Yeah.
greenskins should obviously have the numbers, and dwarves should. Anyway, we'll get into that someday. But uh, anyway, so uh, I'm sorry. What were we talking about with your campaign?
Oh, I was just saying the dwarves are a bitch.
Oh yeah, they are a bitch. They've always been.
Uh,
Uh,
like I had to have a light priest with me because I had no counter for the gyrocopters because they'd just come and
ooh,
bomb like all my infantry. So I had to like net of Amatok and then let the bone giant shoot at them.
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty dope, but like when they have like 3 or 4 units of that shit, it got really old really quick, especially when I was fighting them like every couple of turns.
That's that's why I like the Ushapti with bows. You still get
Mhm.
a couple unit and the unit counts because
Yeah,
but the bone giant does do a lot of damage. I'll
yeah.
give you that. Uh, I really only had the bone giant for like one battle, which was my final quest battle.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Uh, but he
There
did do a lot of damage. I think he killed that Necrosphex Colossus that Arcan had.
Oh, yeah? That's an
Yeah.
interesting fight, actually.
Well, it never came into contact. He was just sniping him
Yeah,
until he took him out. Uh,
yeah, I
so
quite like the bone giants, to be honest.
yeah, I was looking like I was going to be a fan of them.
Mhm.
I just finished the Vortex map, and I can say I won. I beat it.
Too quick, yeah.
Yeah, and I got the what is it? Walk like a Nehekhara achievement.
I think I got that too because I technically got, like, short campaign victory at some point.
Yeah, well, you're one of the 7.3% of people who have it. So
Nice.
yeah, we're up there.
Congrats to me. That's the first time I've got, like, a campaign victory in one of these, actually.
Well, you always do the Mortal Empires campaigns, and those are like ridiculously hard to complete.
Yeah. I'm pretty close to, like, long campaign victory, actually, it's just that I don't wanna go and take, like, cities that don't mean anything to me. That's the only thing that's stopping me because it's pretty simple as Settra.
Yeah. Endgame has always been that's like something for, I don't know. One day I'll get a long campaign victory just to say I did it.
Yeah. Yeah. One of these days I'll take over the whole map and just so I can say, look at me.
Yeah, I did it.
Yeah.
I'll do it as Skarsnik. That's how I'll do it.
You really hate yourself, huh?
No, I love Skarsnik. He's got some good. Are you kidding me? Did you see some of the buffs they gave him? He's not too
I
bad now.
I didn't just because everyone's like, oh, Grimgore, and then like there's new units from both sides, and so no, I haven't seen too much on Skarsnik.
Skarsnik, all of his Night Goblin archers get this poison over time buff if you use the scrap
Ah.
mechanic. And also his like Wah causes more missile damage. So like everything, I don't know. I'm excited to do more Skarsnik. I like it. So you were fighting the dwarves and they were a bitch. So you basically just held the line against them, which is what I had to do against Krokar to a certain point. Not in my final Vortex campaign. Once Naggarond came over, Krokar was willing to see me as the lesser of two evils, considering all I ever did was retaliate. You know,
Yeah.
I was like, I don't need the jungles. I was originally going to go straight for the Bretonian errantry
Right.
wars,
Hmm.
but freaking Arcane the Black skips over all of them and goes straight for one of my cities.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who else were you really engaged with? I mean, it's kind of interesting how you got tied up with the dwarves. Any other interesting? Did you sail over to Lustria like I did?
I did just because there's a book that you have to collect that's over there. It's just defeating an army. So
Mm.
I was over there for a couple turns, and it was just for my army to fight like a dark elf and huh.
Was the Dark Elf in was it Chaos or
That doesn't sound right, but maybe.
no? I definitely fought one over there in the Vortex, and it was Dark Elf and
Maybe I
Dark
was.
Elf and Vortex.
Yeah, I'm not too sure, but there's a book over there, so I went there for a little side trip, and that was pretty much it. And then actually, the big one that was surprising was Astalia.
Oh,
The
really?
yeah, like that little uh southern realms empire faction that starts off by Skavenblight there
Yeah.
was like number 9 on the power ranking.
Wow. Well, I told you about with Albrecht. They held out.
Yeah. I was surprised because they had like Sartosa all the way up to Skavenblight and then around that coast into Bretonia. They had parts of Ulthuan. They yeah, I had to go up there and take Skavenblight, and they did the same thing the dwarves are doing, just like constantly sending armies. And I mean, a lot of them just died at my walls, but they were pretty powerful, which is surprising considering they're like not playable and have no legendary lords. They're just like great sword and handgun spam.
Somebody released a patch. They're big fans of Astalia, I bet.
Apparently, next DLC or something.
I gotta tell you, I had a lot of fun on the very hard difficulty. I took you know that settlement the Knights of Arrigo hold.
Yeah. Mhm.
Uh, I managed to defeat them, and I got a hold of that, and I built up the walls there. And I could not press on the Thegans errantry that owns like the territory to the west of that.
Mhm.
Just because Krokar, greenskins, all that nonsense. But every few turns, they'd send 3 stacks of all of, like the militia, like the swordsmen with no shields, at me,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and I'd have to fight the battle because with 3 stacks, like the game was like, okay, you're gonna lose this, and it was just a meat grinder of
Mhm.
peasants because they'd only have like it was weird. I don't know what their AI was telling them to do, but they'd have like their lord, no heroes, and just an entire stack of just swordsman militia.
Yeah.
it was it was it was great. Great for my Shopti, I'll tell you that much.
I remember the last time that, Bretonia sent, like, a big raid to take Virus and Al-Haik from me. Lewin the Onkheart showed up with himself and 19 units of fucking pox archers. And it was actually so hard. Like I couldn't. It sucked because they slightly outrange your skeletons.
Yeah.
So even if you get close, they'll like just focus on you. And so the only thing you can really do is like charge your lords and constructs in, but they'll kind of slowly pick that apart because you attack one of them and you'll utterly destroy it. But there's two or three more that just moved out of the way and started shooting you.
And you're
As
getting slowed down by the toxin or whatever.
yeah, exactly. And then there was also another army with him, so they had like a mix of both, and it ended in this like huge battle between like Settra and another army I had, and I lost a bunch of scorpions, and it sucked. It was like the worst battle I've ever fought because it was just such a slog to get through. And yeah, I just like ran out of healing by the end. I had nothing
Mm.
but a few almost dead constructs. But that was the end of them. So
Yeah. It always
time was
sucks when
out.
you lose a construct. Like all your investment, granted you don't pay for them, it's
Mhm.
time, you know?
Yeah.
Was it like
Uh,
4 turns to recruit some of these units, you know?
yeah, especially when you have like one or two places you can actually recruit them. And especially I found the gold chevron units, like experience really helps with the constructs. It makes them like 10 times better.
Definitely. And yeah, it was heartbreaking to lose a Kemrian War Sphinx at like max rank.
Mhm.
Or like Ushapti, like because I lost the War Sphinx in the last battle. That was just, personal reasons I felt upset about it. But
Yeah.
I definitely lost like an Ushapti or a Scorpion
Mhm.
here and there. The Scorpions were tough because they're weaker. I think it depends what attacks them, but
Yeah.
like they're doing really well until they're not, and
Yeah.
then you got to get them out, and it's
Mhm.
it's not that easy.
Yeah, I found they struggled more against like anti-large units than anything. Like if halberdiers or um like men at arms with pole arms from Bretonia were there, like it was way harder than like a sphinx who just kind of like runs through and you can kind of ignore them because you just get your charge bonus and stomp on a few of them and walk away, and the scorpion gets hung up way easier.
Yeah, that was one of those things. Like I prefer the Ushapti to the Scorpion, but
Mhm.
the Scorpion definitely did more damage. I think it was just I maybe it's because I had more experience with the Ushapti, but got to play more around. I know if we do Arc in the Black eventually, he starts out with the
Mhm.
Tomb Scorpion. That's probably when I'll really get the because why not focus on what you already have,
Mhm.
type deal.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I just found I moved over them really quick. Like I was like, "Oh, cool, scorpions." Then I was like, "Ooh, sphinxes." Like I don't know.
yeah. I kept building Ushapti buildings everywhere because I was like, I just want these giant statues firing bows the size of like you know I
Human.
don't yeah. It, I love the idea of the Ushapti. Plus, I
Mhm.
don't know if you've ever seen the movie Stargate, but
No, I haven't.
you've never seen Stargate?
No.
Oh man. Oh man. It's got I think it's got was it Val Kilmer? I think he might be in it. Uh man, I'm gonna bother the hell out of you until you like look at a trailer. I know movies, man, and if you're
Mhm.
into the similar stuff to me, you're gonna love that movie. But it's got like a alien race that's like vaguely, Egyptian,
Oh,
and
okay.
they basically colonize other planets and leave like gates behind, and like yeah, that's where they get like the jackal heads, the crocodile heads that are on the Ushapti. That's kind of
Mhm.
what like their soldiers wear these helmets that kind of like pop up that have those shapes to them. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, But, sorry, I got on a tangent on Stargate. If there's anybody out listening, hit like for Stargate, a and tell him to watch it because he needs to. Uh, anyway, so what was it? Dwarves? Who else were you fighting? You went over to Lustria. You fought more lizard men. Did you fight the Vampire Coast at all?
No. No, I don't
Huh.
think I ever had a battle with them because they kind of all kept their distance. Like Sartosa got defeated pretty early on, and um, Noctilus didn't do too much, and
Yeah, he never does.
Luther Harthon, yeah, and Luther Harkon is pretty concerned with what's going on in Lustria. So I beside like I saw him when I went over there, but that was pretty much it. And honestly, like I didn't have any like really long wars that I just eventually won. I just was in a constant back and forth with the dwarves and Bretonia for a while and Eshin for a long time. Like it was just like a give and take here and there. And like I was mostly defeating them, but I wasn't like expanding my borders too much. I was just kind of holding the Badlands and Nehekhara and yeah, just like
Waiting until you could build another army, basically.
yeah, like it wasn't that I was without the want to like take them out. It was just they're all those factions that are just so far away and they have so much territory that it'd just be a slog to actually push farther. And it's easier to commit like one army to hold the city, especially with the Tomb Kings, than it is to send like two or three to slowly work through them. Especially when it's like unpleasant territory the whole way. I was just like,
Yeah.
okay. And after I had like Nehekhara and the Badlands, I was just kind of holding things where they were and going after the books because that was pretty much what I had left to do.
Yeah, that was kind of my strategy. Like, take geography into consideration,
Mhm.
leave, one army in a city that was kind of at a choke point, sort
Yeah.
of,
Mhm.
and go around and collect the books, just to because Vortex, the game ends once you get 5.
Right.
You don't have those far extending missions. I mean, it did bring me to Lustria because there's a book that was in the City of the Awakening. With that's the only reason why I went to war with Luther Harkon was there was a
Right.
book literally inside of a city.
Mhm.
Uh, I didn't have a non-aggression pact with the Eshin in the Vortex. I just kind of ignored them every time they
Yeah.
asked me for something. I was just like, fuck off. Uh, I know you're gonna lose. And
Mhm.
they had a book inside. It might not have been them that owned it, but it was in the mountains. There's a little mountain range that I feel looks a lot bigger on Mortal Empires, but it's got Vulture Mountain, Eye of the Panther. In Mortal
Oh,
Empires,
yeah.
yeah, in
Yeah,
Vortex
Spina
is
Sotek.
yeah, in Vortex it's just 2 settlements, but in
Mhm.
Mortal Empires it's like 3 in that
Yeah,
province.
and it's
Uh,
yeah.
but the Vulture Mountains, which is the capital in the Vortex one, that had Snickich just happened to own it, and it was literally he had Vulture Mountain, and he had his original starting settlement of El Kalabad,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
strangely, the Sartosans had the minor settlement of that province just randomly, even though it
Yeah,
was
that's
up in the
weird.
mountains.
Yeah.
Uh, they were pissed at me, but like I went to war with them just because one of the Bretonian factions asked me to, and I was just like, yeah, sure, just don't go
Why
to
not?
war with me. I don't want to fight you.
Yeah.
This has not been role playing at all. Like this was like strictly to get the books. Because like if I was role playing, I never would have made friends with the Bretonians.
Mhm.
Like Krokar, I could see tolerating in the jungles, like just kind of this like uneasy peace. Like
Yeah.
you stay on your side, I'll stay on mine. And I kind of like the idea of that because like I mean, eventually Settra would take it, but it's like it's really not part of Nehekhara, so it's
Right.
like uh, but definitely, I wish I would have fought some of the dark elves. Like one day we'll do Katep. I've done a small, very short campaign with Katep, and fighting the dark elves as Tomb Kings is very weird. I don't. Maybe it's just in my head. I know like the matchup is strange. Like just being over there.
Yeah, they've got a lot of like AP missile units. I'm wondering how that would go with your like larger units.
Oh yeah. Oh, I bet it tear them up if they get a lot of those. Firing.
Mhm. Yeah, and they've got pretty decent anti-large units. Their infantry is definitely better than yours.
Oh yeah.
Right. I
Yeah, a lot
think,
better.
yeah, I think that'd be a pretty tough one. I think there's a reason that Exiles is a hard campaign.
It'd be interesting though. I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun.
Uh, anything else in particular about your campaign?
Yeah, the books were a
Oh
bitch.
yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah, the books. Yeah. How many books did you end up getting?
I got all 8. I wanted
Oh
to
wow.
get all 8, and I got the last one, this afternoon. It was because yeah, some of them are fairly easy. There's an army of, like, wood elves and beastmen that is, like, right by Khemri, like, right in the beginning,
Mhm.
and then everything else you gotta go looking for. Like, one is, in the Empire, like, in Sylvania. Like I said, one's in Carrick A Peaks. Like, they're all over the place, and you have to either defeat an army or take a settlement to get them.
Mm.
And the last one I had to get was a Bretonian and Empire, like, pirate ship, I guess, and it literally I watched it circle Ulthuan, and I could never get the timing right because Tomb Kings in the Sea is not a good mix. So
Yeah.
and Astalia, like, had both sides of the coastline there, so every time I tried to, like, get him when he was in that corner of, Ulthuan there, or in, like, the eastern straits, like, right before it sort of opens up, I'd get attacked by Astalia or he would, like, slip by me, but yeah, he just does, like, circles, and it was so hard to finally pin him down. That's what was taking me, like, so long, because I didn't have a book until, like, turn 100 or something like that, and I
Wow.
just got most of them within, yeah, like, 100 turns, and it just took forever to get the last couple.
Yeah, there's a big. I mean, I was able to get one of the books pretty early on, maybe like
Mhm,
turn 30 or so, but then it was you know, probably another. I don't know, maybe another 30 turns before I got a second one. I got
mhm.
most of them all at the end. Uh, there's one that's kind of really close by you in the World's Edge Mountains, very easy to get,
Yeah.
and I know they're randomly generated. Well, at least which ones are where.
Mhm.
Because the first time on the campaign I gave up on, I got the same one and it was different.
Oh, okay,
Uh,
yeah.
this time it gave me effectiveness of all commandments plus 50%, which is huge.
Yeah, that's a huge income, especially if you're doing, like, tax rate
Huge.
+5, yeah.
Yeah, growth, movement range comes with the growth, so that's
Mhm.
plus 15% campaign movement range on top of whatever he's got,
Yeah.
plus 33. And then if you do, yeah, the construction thing, plus 8% tax rate and minus 20% for all buildings.
Mhm.
I was abusing when I got that, I was like, "Oh shit." Like that it makes everything like it kind of uh like the biggest weakness, which is the financial side and the growth. And it kind of countered that for me.
Mhm.
And didn't quite turn it around, but definitely made it a lot easier. I don't know.
Yeah, and
Very
the last one I got is, you get access to the Lore of Shadows,
I
which
wanted that one.
yeah, I wanted it the whole game, and
Your
then
shades.
yeah, exactly. I wanted that spell the entire game, and then I got it on, like, the last turn where I was just like, "Well, I did what I wanted to do, and I never got to use this spell."
Yeah, like you said, banishment is powerful, but I had it like more than like maybe I'm a scrub, but
Mhm.
I'll always prefer those stationary or at least somewhat predictable spells over the vortex spells
Right.
because it could absolutely tear up everybody like the
Yeah.
enemy. I've seen it. Like I watched Legend play one of the DLCs today, and he cast. It took like 3 or 4 firestorms before it went right, but
Right.
it just kept going back and forth over everybody, and I was like, oh
Yeah.
shit. But most of the time you cast it, it's like, oh, I'm gonna go straight into your own line, or I'm gonna go out, in the middle of nowhere right now,
Mhm.
and I
Yeah.
really, I don't like that chaos.
Luck-based.
Yeah, yeah, I like to, it's the reason why I don't like riding horses. I've done it like just enough to know that I could do it, and that's it. Like I love the Dowie in the sense that like have you ever read up on or heard like that they do not ride animals
Yeah.
whatsoever? And
Mhm.
that's why they like machines because it's like you do not want to be sitting on top of something that could the second it decides it doesn't want you there, it can get rid of you. Like there's
Mhm.
nothing you can do about
Yeah.
it. And I don't like being on top of things that have a mind of its own, you know, or at the mercy of, I should
Yeah.
say. Uh,
Actually, one more thing I was curious about. What did you think of like Tomb Princes and Necrotex?
oh yeah, I definitely want to. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Necrotex, it was very difficult. Because you have that option every time you go through your dynasty system. You
Yeah.
can, you can pick an extra capacity for Necrotect or
Yeah.
Tomb Prince
Mhm.
or a Lich Priest.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest. This probably comes with experience. Like Legend of Total War is always focused on getting a Tomb Prince, a very specific Tomb Prince, Chariot Master,
Oh,
and
okay. Yeah.
I tried doing what he did, and I I wasn't a big fan of the Tomb Princes. Maybe with my I always wanted a caster, so I always needed a Lich Priest for
Right.
like my better armies.
Mhm.
And then the Necrotex, I relied so much on my constructs
Mhm.
that they come with I think like 2 casts of healing. They buff up their they buff up all their stats if they're
Yeah.
nearby.
Mhm.
And I I loved having a Necrotect around.
Yeah.
I kitted out the one that was with Settra. Like, you don't really have to kit out your caster because they shouldn't be in combat ideally,
Right.
But
Yeah.
the Necrotect, I always wanted to be upfront with the Ushopti or the Tomb Scorpion.
Mhm.
So I gave him, solid armor, solid weapons,
Yeah.
and I'd rather have him over
The
the
Tomb
Tomb
Prince.
Prince. Yeah, because he passive abilities. Anybody who has an ability I don't have to think about clicking a button for, I like
Mhm.
that. I always love I love passive abilities on
Yeah.
like RPGs, it's one less thing I have to manage. What'd
I
you think about them? Or
I
any
I
yeah.
liked both of them. I found the Necrotex died really easily for me. They're really squishy.
Yes, I lost one really important one on my
Yeah.
campaign I gave up on.
Like, obviously, they're very important because they do have that healing and, the buffs for constructs, which are the strength of your armies, but you cannot have them like, they're not duelists,
No.
and they are not meant to, like, sit in a blob of infantry and, like, slowly wear them down and let archers take care of them. Like, they have to be in your own blob to be effective. I
I,
just did not trust them by themselves at all.
no, that's the tricky thing because they like to go off by themselves like any single entity unit.
Mhm.
If they've got support, they're pretty much fine. I
Yeah.
found, as long as you give them good, you just got to give them good items
Yeah.
and make sure they don't go chasing off somebody into a blob of the enemy.
Mhm.
Then you're going to be really pissed that you invested all that time and level ups into a Necrotect who is vitally important. He makes
Mhm.
a difference,
Yeah.
and But as a whole, I like the idea of Necrotex. I thought it was cool that they had like this other type of hero that was focused on um, you know uh, that specific part of your military that is
Mhm.
so key. It's
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah. I was a big fan of, like, I like their purpose, but they're very specific in that. The Tomb Princes I found were a little bit more multifunction. Like, they have anti-large, so they're decent against, like, large stuff, but I found they also, um, did okay in blobs of infantry, like, they would kind of suffice in a
Oh
pinch.
yeah, they'll survive for a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, and, if you put them on a horse or a chariot, they do quite well. So I found they were pretty on par, if not a little less so than, like, most factions sort of anti-infantry. Like, they're very similar to, like, the masters the dark elves have. Like, they do pretty well at being fast and fighting, large things one-on-one. Like, if there's cavalry bunched up in your infantry, then they were really great against Bretonia. But, yeah, I like the Tomb
Maybe,
Princes. They're pretty,
maybe
like, average.
yeah, yeah. Well, see, that's the thing. I want to try. Legend always talks about getting chariot master on your Tomb Prince
Yeah.
and then putting them on a chariot. And I can see how those stats could definitely stack up.
Mhm.
I don't know the numbers offhand, but it does look impressive.
Yeah.
I just got angry because I wasted a bunch of turns getting one of those, and then I
Mhm.
lost him in a fight, like maybe
Yeah.
like 30 turns after that, and I was just so pissed off.
Yeah. It's like, I'm not trying this again.
Yeah, instead I went for trustworthy, and I liked I had a trustworthy prince because it gives you a +5 to all faction
Yeah.
diplomacy, and
Mhm.
I was like, it's me. uh, but let's see. There's also a lot of unique buildings in this campaign. Like a
Mhm.
lot of the cities that you start out have specific pyramids that you can build.
Yeah.
They're all very expensive, have a long construction time, as to be expected. Pyramids weren't built in a day, uh, but they're all very valuable. Like I'm trying to find the one. I swear there's one that gives you like a crap ton, at least on Vortex campaign, that gives you a
Mhm.
crap ton of winds of magic, like right off the bat, like for every army. Maybe I can find it.
I thought that was, Xandries, but I could be wrong. So
Maybe
there's
the
a bunch in Mortal Empires.
Yeah, even in Vortex, I can't find the specific one, but most of them give at least like like +3 winds of magic to all armies. So
Mhm.
even if it's only +3, if you get a couple of those pyramids, on top of knowledgeable lich priests, which
Yeah.
I do always try to get knowledgeable lich priests or
Yeah.
casters.
Yeah.
It adds up to something crazy just to have that amount. Uh,
Mhm.
yeah, pretty much every pyramid gives you +3 on top of all their unique, like some give public order, canopic
Yeah.
jars, income. Yeah.
Then the Black Pyramid one is really good, but it does vampiric corruption, so you pretty much
Does
have to
it,
leave that province.
yeah, does it, I don't think it does it in Vortex campaign. Let me
Oh,
see.
really?
Yeah, in the Vortex campaign, the Black Tower. Wait, is it? Oh, wait, Black Pyramid of Nagash. Oh, yeah, it
Yeah.
does have some vampiric corruption. That's what I was looking
Mhm.
for.
It's really good, but then you kinda have to not stay there.
Winds of Magic Power Reserve +30. That's the one,
Yeah.
the Vault of
Yeah.
Nagash.
Yeah.
On
Huge boon.
on top of everything else. But then
Mhm.
also inside there's an altar of Djaf that gives you +12 untainted. So I think it's countering it, like,
Right. Yeah.
or it's mitigating it to some extent.
Yeah, it makes it so it's not, like, spreading, basically.
Do you think that what else could we? I'm glad you brought up the necrotex because
Yeah.
that's definitely a new thing to this campaign.
Mhm.
Is there anything else that you'd like to point out?
Off the top of my head. No, I think we pretty much covered everything I've written down.
All right. So
Yeah.
I feel like this question is obvious. I
Uh-huh.
mean, obviously, Settra the Imperishable is renowned and feared.
Yes.
Uh, what through playing this, campaign, did you learn anything about him that maybe enhanced your opinion or created some depth in your mind about his character, how he works a little bit?
In terms of, like, the actual character, in terms of the lore, not so much.
Hmm.
That said, in game, he's so much fun to just throw in a War Sphinx, and I had you can make a couple items that give regen on top of, like, reanimate upgraded. So he ends up with a bunch of physical resist, he's got spells to make that even better. He regens, I think I had it at, like, 8 points per second or something stupid like that. So he basically can't die, and he just solos armies to the point where, like, literally in the second quest battle, he soloed half of it before I just cleaned everything up with the other one because I was tired of waiting.
Jeez.
Um, yeah, he's, I think, one of the best legendary lords in the game, and I can see how you could make this campaign, like, basically unending. It'd be pretty easy to sweep
Hmm.
everything just because, yeah, you can continually make more armies because the more you fight, the more money and, canopic jars you have, so you can make more armies as you go, and, yeah, Tomb Kings was not something I was expecting to really love, but it's now one of my favorite campaigns and factions, I think.
Yeah, that's why I want to try out Kalita, just because like her starting area, Mortal Empires, the geography is very different from what we've been doing.
Hmm.
Uh, I think.
Yeah.
And now that I understand how the Tomb Kings work, and now that Imeric's over there, the whole starting area over there is different.
Yes. Hmm.
Uh, let me see. Uh, Definitely the abilities, like the faction effects that Settra gets, it enables you to be definitely more of an offensive conqueror. Like, yeah, you don't
Hmm.
have a lot of innate bonuses towards your units,
Right.
but you get all these bonuses, especially if you build up these pyramids for public order.
Yeah.
I mean, public order eventually just fell off becoming an issue. I mean, granted, it
Yeah.
was on hard, but
Hmm.
even when I was playing on very hard, there was a point where I stabilized things, and it was like public order was not a thing I really concerned myself with,
Hmm. Yeah.
which
Not at
which is a
all.
which is a big deal when it comes to expansion. It's like, oh, you managed to take like this entire province in 3 turns. Great, it's going to revolt every 2 turns now. So have fun bouncing back and forth between defending it from your other enemies.
Yeah.
Like that's a big problem where you get bogged down in a new area. It's like, yeah, you captured it. Now it's like, well, try to hold on to it. But here, maybe you have to spend like maybe a turn or two. But he gives such huge public order bonuses just from himself and like his quest items that you can stabilize an area for many turns if you just sit there for 1 turn and it's like plus like 30 to the public order,
Hmm.
and that's pretty crazy. It if you can if you can get on a roll and maybe have another army backing them up, there's not going to
Yeah.
be much slowing you down as far as managing your properties is
Yeah.
concerned.
Well, and the other thing is that you're occupying instead of like sacking and occupying or
Yes.
looting, and so you don't get as much of uh, a minus to it from the beginning, which helps as well. But yeah, you can pretty much just recover what you lost from the siege and then move on because there isn't really an issue.
Very true. I feel like they did craft him with his like these effects and like his own personal traits that you can
Yeah.
unlock as you level up, all geared towards he is a conqueror. He's not a barbarian. He like it's pushing you to like, yeah, you could sack it, and maybe there's an opportunity or two that you would sack it, but really you're there to conquer. You get canopic jars whether you burn it down or occupy it, and everything is geared towards just rapid expansion. Uh, yeah, I really liked. I could definitely feel that play style in it. I'd like to do a Mortal Empires campaign with him eventually. Probably
Hmm.
we'll do it with Kalita first, just because I'm interested. I've heard a lot of cool things about her lore and her character, and also her starting position. And I really like those units. What are they called? I built several of them. They're like the snake units. What are they called?
Oh, the yeah, we didn't even talk about those. There's the sepulchral stalkers,
Sepulchral
so,
stalkers.
and then there's
Yeah,
the necropolis knights.
yeah. I had a lot of fun with those. I like them a lot. Uh, we'll save those for Kalita one day. But I really like their stock ability,
Hmm.
and then their ranged attack. Pretty pretty good stuff, man.
Yeah, they're
Uh,
all right.
yeah, they're all. I mean, if you get them in the right position, beautiful.
Yeah.
It's one of. I think that's why they have stock. They're
Hmm.
good in a few circumstances, and if you can get them there, that's then you're doing great.
Yeah. Like when we were playing Bretonia last time, it sucked to play against them, but I didn't really feel the need to bring them playing as the Tomb Kings.
Mm, I didn't. It's like I could have gone without them. There were just a couple of occasions where I definitely saw where they shined. I think,
Right.
which was if you could get like enemy cavalry tied up, you know, I don't know. Just
Hmm.
I like them, and their
Yeah.
poison ability slows them down too,
Yeah.
which means you get more shots into them. It's great.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's true. I did find they were really useful against like Empire Knights when I was fighting Astalia a bunch. They'd like charge in, and the stalkers would come around and shoot them and slow them and get them stuck on some spearmen. So they were pretty good there.
uh, yeah. I think. You think that covers everything? I
I
think it
am
does.
pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, everybody, if you've been joining us, thanks again for tuning in. This has been Renowned and Feared. I'd like to say thanks again, Archer, for joining me on this.
My
Uh,
pleasure.
Always, as mine as well. Uh, if you're still listening, please like and subscribe. If you'd like to, even just sending a like, subscribing means a lot to us. And 2 weeks from now, this is one of those times where we don't have to go over it in the post show. We know exactly who we're covering. 2 weeks from now, it's going to be Eltharion the Grim. So please send, if you would like to send us an email or leave us a comment and have it read on the show as part of the discussion. All the contact information is on our profile on YouTube. And, it's really easy to get a hold of us.
We're not busy.
Well, I mean, we are busy, but we're also watching. It's unhealthy how much attention I spend on a channel that has 15 subscribers. We're up to 15. We're going to the top, baby. Well, we just need 100 for our own personal URL on YouTube. So,
is that right?
Yeah, you just need 100, and then we can get like YouTube/Renowned and Feared. That's what I'm hoping for.
Perfect.
Hey, if you type in Renowned and Feared, we're like the first ones that pop up, I think.
I believe so. Yeah.
You still want to do a little bit of post show afterwards?
Yeah, I'm good. Sure.
It'll probably be a shorter one.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about.
Yeah, we already know who we're doing. Anyway, stay tuned after the little outro music, and you can join us in the post show where we get down and dirty.
Bye.
All right. Bye. Okay. I'm gonna tell Craig to leave us just for right now.
So yeah, but there's a separate recording.
Yeah, so it's a separate recording. Hold on. And then I need to use the bathroom, and I'll be back in like 10 minutes, if that's okay with you. Drop the ball this time.
Yeah, thanks, Craig.
It's like you get to stay employed for another 2 weeks.
Still watching you though.
I got my eye on you, Craig. Yeah, so I don't know that I had a really good time playing this campaign.
Yeah, like when I first started playing Warhammer, me being like a big medieval fantasy nerd, I was like, ooh, Empire, ooh, like Bretonia, although I didn't play it. And I really like the Lizardmen for whatever reason. And I kind of looked at Tomb Kings as being like, doesn't sound interesting. And I started playing Settra, and I was like, holy fuck. Like, I couldn't believe how much fun I was having.
Yeah, I would have done the Mortal Empires, but like when I gave up on that original campaign, I was like, it basically gives me like one day, because I had a couple opportunities to play over the past 2 weeks, and I was working on that one Vortex very hard campaign, and it just got so bogged down. I was just like, Christ, if I gotta finish this, like I don't like it when I don't finish the campaign, like for Bretonia. I wanted to get it done, so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna drop it down to difficulty level, but I really want to do Mortal Empires. Like, I don't know. One day I'm gonna take a vacation in June for like a week, and I got some stuff I gotta do. I gotta requalify for my security license and stuff like that. But when I take the week off, I think I want to record like I've always had it in my idea in my head to do I want to call it legendary losses. Where it'll be basically just a let's play, but I'll play something on legendary and probably put it on our channel. Hopefully I have time in that week to at least put a couple hours in on it, and post that as something. But I definitely want to do like maybe a Khalida legendary or Settra, because I watched I went back and watched one of Legend of Total War's Settra campaigns, and it's really cool. I mean, I'm jealous I didn't get to do the Mortal Empires campaign, but
Mhm.
realistically, I knew I couldn't do it. Uh,
Mhm.
but
Yeah, like I said, it was like upwards of 60 hours in the last 2 weeks.
yeah, I had this like argument. I think another argument with somebody on a YouTube channel.
Just starting
Well,
shit.
no, it wasn't on purpose. I was talking about how like somebody discussed was it Great Book of Grudges? Talked about the possibility of like single legendary lord packs.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, depending on the quality, it's like I'm willing to pay like $5, $7,
Oh,
for
yeah. Yeah, I saw that, and this
it.
guy's like, "Oh my god."
It's and I was just like, dude, if I pay $7 and I get even just 20 hours of gameplay out of $7,
Mhm.
I'm like, that's like I try to factor things into like, which is why like I've only gambled, like gone to a casino a couple times in my life, and I haven't
Right.
been in years. And it's like, because like people they say the reason why casinos use chips is because it disassociates you from like the money.
Right.
And to me, it just makes it easier to keep track of like this chip was worth like 2 hours of my time. Like this
Yeah.
stack of chips was like 30 hours of my time.
Mhm.
And like so like $7 being worth $20, I'm like, that's not minimum wage. Like
Yeah.
so if you provide me with 20 hours worth of content from one legendary lord for $7, I'm like, that's a good deal as far as I'm concerned.
Mhm.
You don't have to buy it if you don't want to. You'll still face them,
Mhm.
in the campaign if you play somebody else. But like, I don't know. CA is a business too, and
Yeah.
I had a little Amazon business going for a while, and
Mhm.
so I respect. People have to make money to make it worth their while. Like, you got to pay those programmers and asset developers.
Yeah.
Like, so
And
if
I
I'm
think the other thing is too, especially, like, with the amount of free LCs and, um, like, even updates to the game that come to everyone, it's yeah, I don't think it's a stretch by any means.
No, I can't say like it's rare nowadays when you find a game where you get your money's worth,
Mhm.
and then some. Like
Yeah.
I was a bit peeved when I had to buy like Warhammer 1 to get Mortal Empires.
Yeah.
But it's like been the only game I've played for like the past like 9 months. So what am I what am
Complaining
I going to
about?
say to
Mhm.
that? Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Uh, anyway, so the DLC.
The
Uh
DLC, yeah.
I'm excited to play Eltharion the Grim. Uh
Mhm. The first 20 turns of the Vortex have been really fun
it
so
looks fun.
far. I think, I was kind of, not sure where the Rangers were gonna fit in, but you get them, like, right with, like, archers. Like, they're
Yeah,
a tier 1 unit.
yeah, they seem a little bit like Corsairs of the Dark Elves.
Yes. So, it's kinda nice because you actually have some, like, anti-infantry or, like, some flanking ability in the early game. Because yeah, when I saw them, I was like, "What the fuck is this, and why is it coming to the High Elf roster?"
Hmm.
And now I'm like, "Okay," like, I don't think they're gonna be great, but I think they're a decent unit for the beginning because they're tier 1 and you can recruit them with spearmen, which they, like, contrast pretty well. Like, spearmen can hold and they can flank. Like, it's just that early game where they're useful, but that's like, there's a place for that.
Yeah, just a reason to get another unit aside from archers, even though
Mhm.
the archer meta is still very much present.
Yeah, like, I don't think you're gonna break that down, but yeah,
No,
it's,
I do. I forget what they call the Silverillion Guard. Is that the
yeah, the
heavy?
Silverin Guard, yeah.
Yeah, I like the idea of heavy spearmen. Uh,
Mhm.
I like hoplites and phalanx formations.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it's like it reminds me of, playing Rome, actually.
Yeah, that's how the way it was described kind of got me thinking about that.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, I kind of gave up on watching some people's stream, the new DLC because I was like, it's so close. Like I watched a little bit, here and there, but I didn't really want to watch too much And also, like, when you see somebody play a way that you disagree with, it gets frustrating to watch them.
Hmm.
I don't know. Uh,
Yeah, I didn't want to like spoil myself too much. I just wanted to leave myself to kind of figure out what I wanted and how I wanted to do it. And I'm very excited for Imric, just based on
yeah,
the initial sort of
I
context.
yeah, I thought I was not gonna like the fact that they added him as opposed to maybe somebody else.
Yeah.
But maybe his Vortex campaign, not so much because he's kind of like now south of Kemri,
Hmm.
which is, you know, is what it is, I guess. But
Yeah.
I don't think I would ever play him on the Vortex campaign. Like,
Yeah.
Mortal Empire is all the way. He's got a. I like that he's starting off there in like the Badlands, or well, the far east of the map. I don't know what you call those.
Like far east of the vortex.
No, in the Mortal Empires, it's it- he's not technically in the Badlands because he's east of the World's Edge Mountains. I
Yeah,
forget that.
like that area where like Carrick Azul and like just north of Nagash's are and stuff like that.
Yeah, that seems like a
Yeah.
cool place to start, and the fact that
Yeah.
you can confederate with Ulthuan at a certain
Hmm.
point, I like
Yeah,
that.
and I think like from what people are saying, I've tried really hard not to spoil myself. So I don't really know anything about his campaign, but people are saying it's like really, really hard.
I mean, that's good because the High Elf campaign needs like a really it needs a difficulty curve for
Hmm.
how OP most of their units are.
Yeah, and I feel like a Lithanar isn't crazy easy, but for the most part, you've got some pretty soft starts. Like,
Yeah, if you just keep yourself in a good position, I think in the early game, and
hmm,
you're you start to steamroll as a Lithanar.
yeah,
Uh, he definitely has the most interesting start, at least
yeah,
up till now.
yeah,
But at a certain point, you're just like, "Yep, I'm gonna win."
yeah. Well, and I thought like based on him being the Knights of Caledor that he would start in Caledor, but apparently not so. So it's nice that he's just like fucking nowhere like close to Ulf one at all.
Yeah, well, he's got that Malice Darkblade mechanic, sort of, where several turns in, I think you have to capture a certain number of provinces, and then you get the option of confederating Caledor.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. It's kind of cool to have like a not quite the same, but high elf malice sort of to
yeah.
play off of. Yeah.
The only thing I'm really disappointed in, but I think there's a mod that fixes it, is the stone trolls have the
Hmm.
exact same skin as the regular trolls. They just, two-hand their weapons and have different stats. So
Oh, really?
yeah.
That's
If
kind
you
of
look at
shitty.
it, yeah, once someone pointed it out, I was like, oh shit, they are the exact same.
I thought they had
So
like a different face, but
no, if it maybe there's a small detail, but I swear once I looked at them, they did look exactly the same.
it's just way too close.
Either way, I know there's a mod out there that makes them look a little bit different, so I'll get that
Hmm.
just to correct that problem for me.
Yeah. Oh, they do look the same. What the fuck?
Yeah, I know, right? Bullshit.
Yeah, that sucks. Hmm.
Mm. Uh, yeah, we don't really have that much to go over this time.
Yeah, like yeah, we can talk about the update, but I feel like that's better saved for the next couple episodes. And like, I mean, usually we're deciding who we want to play, and that's been decided for the next 3 times. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's
Mm.
not a whole lot to talk
No,
about.
like I said, you were aware of Skarsnik's updates. He's gotten some
Hmm.
updates to his tree and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I would, I know I'm more into greenskins, but Skarsnik always struck me as like a unique lord, just because you're stuck with the goblins,
Hmm.
and he's definitely got some. He's like Grom, where all of his abilities tend towards the goblins, but he's definitely gotten some love. That his campaign will probably still be one of the most difficult, but
So yeah.
not so ridiculous
Hmm.
anymore, I think. Uh,
Yeah, I'm kind of excited to play some greenskins after. Well, I mean, we've got 3 campaigns, and then we'll probably not want to be anywhere close. So
Yeah,
And
maybe
we've got some factions that we just haven't touched yet, so
yeah, we haven't touched the Skaven. Let's see, we'll do the High Elves.
Mhm.
We've
Haven't
done
done
the
Lizardmen, Skaven.
yeah, maybe that'll be the time to go to the Lizardmen because I've been itching to really try them.
Yeah,
Uh,
I've been kinda wanting to play them again soon too.
yeah, we'll probably do the
We haven't
Lizardmen after.
played dwarves
Oh yeah, dwarves are an
and
option too. And what is it? Like if we don't do Azag, because I'll probably play Azag on my own.
yeah.
What is it? Karakurdrin, the Slayers.
Yeah.
We could probably maybe do them because I feel like I've already played Karaz Akarak a bunch of times.
Yeah, I haven't played Kitchen, so
Yeah, I've literally played like the first 2 turns of them before.
yeah. And I played a good bit of Belagar, so kinda know what's going on there.
Yeah, I actually have tried Belagar quite a few times just because I thought he had an interesting like kind of setup. Uh,
Yeah, pretty interesting.
yeah, maybe we'll do dwarves after we do this bunch. Yeah, I'd probably like to go to dwarves or lizardmen. They'll probably be like one of those coin toss things where it's just like whatever we feel, between the two.
Yeah, whatever we're feeling at the time. We do have a lot more Lizardmen though left.
Yeah, we probably should hit the lizardmen at some point, but they'll be there.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like they're pretty much not gonna get touched, I don't think, for a while. So
Well, we definitely need to cover Tehenowin and Nakai, I feel like, at some point.
yeah.
And the other ones are really Krokar, probably, because he has a unique start position in
Yeah.
both campaigns, for sure.
Mhm.
Gorok is one of those ones. That's the one I'm thinking of, right? Itza? He's Gorok, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's Gorak, yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of got one of those, like, I don't know. It's like standard, I guess.
It's
Like,
a very easy start. You just slap rats around for the first like 30 turns.
yeah, maybe because we're probably not going to get to everybody before Game 3 comes out. I pray to
I
God,
don't think so.
but
I don't want to play like Beastmen and Chaos before it comes out just because I want them to
no,
be good.
no, because if we do, like I was thinking, like if it came to that, like because
Mhm.
I do love Beastmen, I honestly only touch Beastmen with like the SFL mod as well as Chaos,
Yeah.
like because they add like new tech trees, just new stuff that makes it like
Make them
actually,
playable.
yeah, it makes them playable, and it's
Yeah.
like that's, I mean, I guess we'll do that if we have to, just for variety's sake. But I'm hoping they all. I mean, I'm kind of hoping for a Beastmen maybe update before like Game 3,
Yeah.
like because I feel like the green skin update was similar. Like maybe you could give because now that we got the new WA mechanic, like we figured out how that works, and I
Yeah.
like that a lot better.
Mhm.
How they set it up. So the Beastmen really just need, first of all, to get that as like a copy,
Mhm.
and then some other, just anything more.
I don't know. CA, you think of it.
No, well, other modders have done interesting things. Like you can actually occupy settlements if you choose to get certain bonuses.
Oh,
Just the,
okay, yeah.
I mean, if you look at the tech tree, if you ever, well, now you can't because like the game's been updated. But
Yeah.
the SFO Beastmen and Chaos give you so many crazy abilities. New units, like a couple new units, like
Mhm.
just the tech trees alone are outrageous. There's so many different things that you can like spec towards, like you know, depending on the situation that you want.
Right.
Yeah, just great stuff there. Uh but I'm very happy with what we got. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm right now I'm probably gonna go to bed because like I said, I stayed up till 3 a.m. Then my son woke up on 5 a.m. and my wife was very kind enough to take care of him until like 7, and then I woke up like so I don't,
Yeah.
and I took a little nap in between then and there.
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, I'm just really excited to play some of that DLC tomorrow before I have to go to work. And
Yeah.
even though it's going to take me like 4 hours to freaking upload all this stuff.
Is that how long it usually takes? About 4 hours?
Well, yeah, because first I have to, it takes about probably like 25 minutes to edit in the Audacity
Right.
program, and
Mhm.
then after that, you save it as an MP3 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I have to put it into a video format once that's done. And then I have to process that video, and then I have to upload that video into YouTube. And the whole
Mhm.
process takes like 3 to 4 hours, basically. I mean, it's not like I'm doing stuff that whole time, but that kind of just ties up my computer for that amount of time.
Right. Yeah, because it's all rendering and stuff.
Yeah, and I probably could still play, and I might, but I always get nervous because it's like if I'm playing the game at the same time and then, you know, it just craps out on me,
Mhm.
then I just have to do that all over again. Yeah. Whatever. Anyway, man, do you have anything else going on that you want to talk about?
Nope. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's been being back at work?
It. I don't love it. I was getting
Yeah.
paid more on EI to like sit at home and play Warhammer, so it's like,
Son of a bitch.
no. Yeah, like it's a little like frustrating, and I don't feel like they should have opened as soon as they did, like the province that I'm in. So yeah, it's just kind of frustrating all around. But what are you gonna do?
I don't know. There's been no difference for me. I'm still working like 50, 60 hours a week, so
Yeah,
it's
which yeah, and I think that's I don't know from the sounds of it. Not that I know much about how it's going there, but it sounds like you're pretty fortunate to be doing so.
yeah, it's like I'm still getting paid,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I have heard of other people here in the States who, like where my mom works, she's like a manager at a supermarket, and
Hmm.
like some of her staff like got opted to go into like it wasn't quitting, but it was like just opting to not come to work and collect unemployment and stuff.
Yeah,
And they were making more not going to work than they
yeah,
would have
exactly.
working.
Yeah,
And I'm just like, well, duh. Nobody wants to go back to work. Like
yeah,
if I you son of a bitch.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like minimum wage is too low. Like,
Almost. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I have a huge problem with that. Like even what I do now, like I only make like a couple dollars more than what I was doing when I was a funeral assistant. And that was still a step up from what I was making prior to that. I don't
right.
know. I make all my money on overtime, which is
Hmm.
unfortunate. That's when I get to the living wage.
Yeah, just because you get like bonuses from.
Yeah, time and a half. That's basically what everybody does, though. If you get time and a half on Sundays, depending on the job, or more than 40 hours, that's like when you actually make any sort of living wage at that point.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't, I don't know. I'm trying to quit my job and go somewhere else for something reasonable, but yeah, finding a job sucks.
yeah, it fucking blows. Like especially right now because we're not sure where we're if we're staying in the town we're living in right now, or if we're gonna go to different places. Like me and my girlfriend, and it's
Oh, that's got to be really tough.
like yeah, like I might have to stay here by myself because I can't get a job anywhere else. Because it's just like who's hiring when everyone just laid off a bunch of people.
Well, that's the thing. They got to decide when's enough enough. Is it when they have a vaccine? Is it, when we decided that, more people are going to starve as opposed to die from the frickin' disease?
Yeah.
Is that is one of those things that I think people do write off too quickly because I work in a really rich country club
Yeah.
and everybody has the same opinion. And it's like, keep it shut down. And it's like, yeah, you're all old and you all have prior conditions. Like, of course you want it kept shut down. But like, there are people I know right now who like are going to turn to desperate measures if they can't pay for their family.
Yeah.
And that's because not everybody is making more not working than they did before.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah, and they're all like rich people living in like they're not worried about money anyway.
no, no, no. Basically, yeah, I hear them talk about it all the time, and it's basically like keep it shut down until they find the cure.
Hmm.
and I'm
Yeah.
like, if it's a virus, it's like even if they come out with a vaccine, I'm like, did anybody tell you like the flu vaccine only has like a 15% like like success rating or something like that? It's something really low. like because you're dealing with something that mutates all the time, and like you know, I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
Me
I
neither.
just, yeah, I just want life to go back to normal. That's really what I
Yeah.
want.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway. Uh, if you, oh yeah, you didn't take any pictures of what's his name, Settra. I'll probably go through my recordings tomorrow, see if I can get something.
Okay.
I'll find something.
Yeah. I'm gonna play tomorrow morning before I go to work, so I can grab some and send them your way too, because it doesn't take very long.
It's up to you. I don't
Right.
know. Anyway,
Okay.
yeah, I'm just I'm ready to go to sleep, man.
Cool. Me too.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, oh, you got work tomorrow? What time?
Uh, 10 in the morning.
Okay. Well, I guess it's still a little bit early. All right, man. I'll let you go.
Okay.
Yeah. But thanks for let me know if you want to change the recording schedule any bit,
Sure.
because now that you're back at work, so just let me know if it ever presents any sort of problem, and
Yeah.
we'll adapt. We
Okay.
will
Yeah.
survive.
Yeah. Right now it's not a big deal because I ended up just getting Wednesday, Thursday off anyway, so it's not a big deal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was
Wow.
just kind of lucky, so I was like, whatever, yeah, I'll take it. And yeah, so right now it's not a big deal, but we'll see in the next little bit.
All right. Well, thank you so much, man, for
No
coming
worries.
back on as always. And I'm looking forward to our next episode. And if you need anything, just send me an email or whatever you want. And
Sure.
yeah.
Cool.
All right, man. Have a good
Talk.
night.
You too. Talk to you later.
Yeah. Later, man.